Zombie Dadi. My father is a zombie hot papi. The story begins with Ryu-min-sak whispering to himself, I am sorry, my daughter. On the grass, Ryu-dami lies asleep forever, her chest and stomach torn apart by zombie bites. I killed you, Ryu-min-sak muttered, staring at his daughter's lifeless body. And not just once, but 99 times. Tears streamed down his face as he continued to cry. After a long silence, Ryu-min-sak stood up. Now, I have only one chance left, he whispered, wiping his tears away. Trust me, Dami. This time, I absolutely will not fail. In a few months earlier, Ryu-min-sak sat in shock, staring at the television. A news anchor's voice trembled. A mysterious creature has appeared in the city center. The next moment, the screen filled with chaos, zombies swarming through the streets. The world collapsed in an instant, Ryu-min-sak muttered. His daughter stepped out of her room, rubbing her eyes. Dad, what are you looking at? He looked at his beautiful girl and thought to himself, we must survive. And a few days later, Ryu-min-sak cradled his daughter in his arms, shouting, Dami, wake up! Please do not leave me behind. But he knew in his heart, this world is hell itself, for an old man and a young girl to survive. And just like that, they died. At the brink of despair, Ryu-min-sak tried to hang himself. The moment everything ended, he whispered, until the rope snapped. In that instant, a beautiful angel appeared before him, smiling warmly. I was given another chance, he realized, and Ryu-min-sak suddenly woke up, drenched in sweat. On his forehead glowed a number, 99. Shocked, he whispered, I am perfectly fine. What is going on? He stumbled to the mirror. This number? On my head? Heart racing, he ran to his daughter's room, banging on the door. Dami! Ryu-dami! Open the door! Now! She groaned from inside. Seriously. It is the middle of the night. What is it? The moment she opened the door, Min-sak grabbed her tightly. Dami, are you okay? You are alive, right? Right? Kya? What has gotten into you? Did you have a bad dream or something? She yelped. He pulled her wrist, dragging her outside. Just follow me. No questions. Dad, you are hurting me. Explain what is happening, she cried. There is no time. If we do not hurry, we will A zombie suddenly leapt at him out of nowhere. And then, Ryu-min-sak woke up again. The number above his head, 98. He froze. I am back again. And the number went down? That was when he realized, this number is my remaining lives. And from then on, every attempt became a desperate struggle. He swung a golf club at a zombie, muttering, I have done everything I possibly could to save you, even if it meant abandoning my humanity. On his 71st attempt, he left behind an old woman, trapped in a car, whispering, I have done it all for your sake, Dami. But no matter what choices he made, the end was the same. The zombies always found them. They tore his daughter from his arms. They dragged him down. On his 13th attempt, bloodied and exhausted, he still swung his bat, scattering zombies in terror. Huff! Huff! He gasped. Even if I had 100 or 1,000 chances. He turned and saw her. Ryu-dami staggered toward him, her mouth twisted, her voice distorted. D-A-D, Dade, A-S-A-V. Her jaws opened wide. Min-sak pulled her close, hugging her tightly. A weak father like me, he whispered, can only lead his daughter to death. Her teeth sank into his shoulder. With trembling hands, Ryu-min-sak raised his gun and made himself sleep forever. Again he resurrected. Again he cried, and again his daughter appeared in the other room, confused. Huh? Dad? What is all the noise this late at night? This time he packed a bag and pulled out a kitchen knife. Dad? Dami asked, her face pale. He reached for her slowly, hugging her tight. I promise, he whispered. Even if I fail hundreds or thousands of times, even millions or billions of times, I will survive and save you. Trust your dad. Okay, sweetheart? Dad? Dami murmured nervously. Daejeon. Ryu-min-sak carried his daughter's body in his arms. Only one chance remained. It took 99 attempts to find the perfect shelter, he thought. Soldiers of the combined military base defended it. Doctors and nurses at the university hospital treated the survivors. By luck and circumstance, order was never lost. It was, at last, the perfect home. I spent my whole life there. At the grave of Ryu-dami, Ryu-min-sak whispered, It has already been 40 years since I arrived here. You have waited a long time, have you not, my daughter? I had to be careful, because this was my final chance. He laid a bouquet of flowers gently upon her grave. Now I am certain, he said. This place is safe. If we can just reach it alive, it will be our final destination. Wait for me. Dad will come get you soon. He raised his gun toward himself, closed his eyes, and made himself sleep forever. And once again, Ryu Minsak resurrected, and moments later, Ryu Minsak and Ryu Dami prepared to head out. Shh, he exhaled, glancing at her. Dami looked back at him nervously, beads of sweat running down her face. Just before we arrived at the final shelter in Daejeon, Minsak thought to himself, Dami died. Because of my mistake. I have spent 40 years, repeated this hundreds of times, all to make everything perfect, all to keep Dami alive until the very end. As he opened the door carefully, he vowed to himself, this time I absolutely will not make any mistakes. But then he froze. Huh? He muttered, as his eyes widened. Outside he saw them, zombies, not just a few, an entire horde. A variable, he whispered, freezing in shock. In 40 years, after tens of thousands of rehearsals, there was one variable he had never considered. And now he froze, because this was something that had never changed, not even once in the past 99 attempts. A sprinter zombie bolted toward him, and the others swarmed behind it, all aiming for Ryu Minsak. The one condition that had always been unquestionable, he thought. There were never zombies at the door. Dad! Ryu Dami shouted. Ryu Minsak pushed his daughter back inside. She stumbled to the ground with a cry of pain. Kya! He slammed the door shut, seeing Dami's terrified face as she looked back at him. The zombies pounded on the other side. Dad! Ryu Dami screamed in fear. Ah! What are you doing? Open this now, Dad! Hurry, Dad! Ah! Outside, Ryu Minsak held his ground, forcing his body against the door as the swarm crashed against him. Biting, clawing, tearing at his flesh, he endured it all. Kuh! He groaned, as life drained from his eyes. The sorrow of having your intestines cut. The agony of losing one's child. It is like having your guts torn apart, he thought. I have already had my guts torn apart 99 times. This pain of death. I am used to it now. Memories of baby Dami flashed before his eyes. He smiled faintly. So, do not cry, my child, he whispered inside. Ryu Dami wept hard against the door. Outside, the virus spread quickly through Ryu Minsak's body. His strength waned, his vision dimmed. Is this how it ends? Am I going to die forever now? He remembered one of the countless times when Dami had been devoured by the horde. Then, with sudden fury, he stomped the ground in pure determination. No, he growled. His body, though torn apart, surged with strength. He carried the weight of the zombies piling on him. Whether it is 100 times or 1,000 times, he thought, grinding his teeth, I do not mind dying. But if my daughter is still alive, then I cannot die. With a roar, he pushed the horde away. His shirt ripped apart, muscles straining as he broke free. A zombie sat up in confusion, staring at him. Grooey! It groaned. Ryu Minsak darted forward and ripped its head off in one swift motion. Then, one by one, he destroyed the heads of the zombies around him. A yellow-haired zombie bit him, but Ryu Minsak snarled, bit back in revenge, and tore into it. Groogeek! The creature shrieked in shock. He punched an incoming zombie, sending it flying. Another's face he slammed into the ground with brutal force. The others froze in horror as they watched him rampage. Ryu Minsak stood tall, his presence terrifying. His eyes blazed with killing intent as he turned his gaze upon them. Greebeck! The zombies howled in fear. 100th failure, he muttered to himself. Meanwhile, Dami sat trembling on the floor, waiting. Slowly, she opened the door. Light streamed through the crack. She continued to cry as Ryu Minsak whispered, and another chance given to me. He stepped back into the house. Do not worry, Dami. Even if I am not human anymore, I will protect you until the very end. A smirk tugged at his lips as he looked at his daughter. Are you all right, sweetheart? And thus, Dad resurrected. The start of the zombie outbreak. Day 7. Seoul, Mapo District. At a mart, there was a sale. Inside the mart storage room, the annoying soldier spat and cursed. Fudge, what is this? Who the heck are you? He froze as he saw Ryu Minsak walking toward them through the chaos. Zombies are swarming everywhere. How did you make it here alive? Speak up or I will put a hole in your head. His eyes narrowed. Hey, what is wrong with your face? Then he noticed the shades, sunglasses, in the middle of the night. Do not tell me. The soldier's jaw dropped. Wait, are you a celebrity? You wear sunglasses at night. Are you some kind of star? Ryu Minsak remained silent. Then a cold voice cut in. Get lost. Captain Chahieri appeared, her rifle hanging at her side. Great Tiger Unit. Codename Black Widow. Former Captain Chahieri. She stepped forward, eyes sharp, and looked Minsak straight in the face. There is no room for you here. Find some other place. She leaned closer, her stare unrelenting. Did you not hear me? I said, get lost. But as her eyes lingered on Minsak's weary expression, she faltered. My daughter has been wandering for an entire week, Minsak said softly. Her asthma has gotten worse. She is suffering terribly. Dami blushed, coughing weakly. Cough, cough. Please, Minsak pleaded, sweat dripping from his brow. Help me save my daughter. If that is too much, at least take her. Huh? Dami blinked in confusion. I am begging you, Minsak cried, lowering his head. Chahieri stood frozen, her teeth clenched, trembling with conflicted emotion. The annoying soldier scoffed. Is this son of a biscuit insane? Does he seriously think emotional appeals will work on our captain? Then, sniff, sniffle. To everyone's shock, Captain Chahieri's face crumpled as tears spilled down her cheeks. Her nose ran shamelessly. The annoying soldier's eyes went wide. What the hell? Chahieri turned away, hiding her face. Let them in. Do not get the wrong idea. We just need more manpower to guard the mart. Minsak replied flatly. Wipe your nose first. Chahieri stomped away in a huff, while the annoying soldier chased after her in disbelief. Minsak remained silent. Then, faintly, he smirked. You are still the same, Captain Chahieri, a retired soldier who rallied survivors and defended this supermarket in Mapo district. Cold as a serpent, yet somehow vulnerable to stories of parental sacrifice. Dad! Dami shouted at him, red in the face. Minsak blinked in surprise. Huh? What was that earlier? That was not the plan at all. Wait, Dami, let me explain. Hey, you two come with me, the annoying soldier interrupted, glaring. Cough, cough, you, cough, cough. Dami faked, clutching her chest. Stop it, the soldier groaned. Ah! Dami clutched her head dramatically. Are you kidding me? The soldier muttered, exasperated. Minsak held his daughter close, hiding his unease. Dami's mental state is deteriorating faster than usual, he thought. She needs rest soon, or it will get dangerous. All because of two unexpected variables. He remembered. That incident a week ago, even I do not fully understand. I was bitten by a zombie, but survived. Not only that, I grew strong enough to overpower them. This unfamiliar, transformed body, it is not mine anymore. Could it be that I have become a zombie? Ain Mart, Hapchung branch, the early survival optimal route. Supplies were plentiful here. Soldiers guarded the mart. Survivors were safe behind its walls. This place, Dami will be safe here. Minsak looked at the collapsed building next door. His eyes narrowed. Why did that building fall? This has never happened before. The annoying soldier sneered. You say strange things. Are you from the future or something? 3 days ago, zombies attacked us. Captain Chahieri led the defense. The zombies swarmed the building. The annoying soldier said. The captain lured them into the building next door. She jumped and slid from the rooftop, and as they swarmed inside, she detonated the explosives we set up in advance and crushed every single one of them. They are probably flattened like dried squid now. Maybe a few survived if they were lucky, but they are trapped inside, slowly rotting away. He spat on the ground. The annoying soldier looked back at Ryu Minsak, only to be shocked. Ryu Minsak froze in horror. The soldier asked, what is that look for? You are not seriously thinking zombies could crawl out from that rubble, are you? But then, a giant zombie loomed behind him. The soldier turned, saw it, and froze in confusion. Huh? The giant zombie raised its fist and slammed it down with a devastating blow, crushing the soldier instantly. Captain Chahieri leapt into action. The giant zombie swung at her, but she barely managed to evade. A terrified soldier cried out, what the hell? Where did they come from? Chahieri rushed to Ryu Minsak and Ryu Dami, cocked her rifle and shouted, all units, open fire! Bullets rained down on the giant zombie, but they did nothing. The monster roared, charged forward, and smashed soldiers apart with one punch, ending them instantly. One soldier collapsed on the ground, gasping in terror. Ah! The zombie raised its hand to crush him, but a bag flew at its face, distracting it. Chahieri dashed forward, dragging the soldier away. Get it together. Do you want to die? The soldier stammered, yes. Chahieri gritted her teeth. Focus, Chahieri. This is not like 3 days ago. This is not an ordinary zombie. Behind her, she saw faint lights. "Run for the mart!" she shouted. They ran. Ryu Minsak muttered, "Shut up and run," Chahiri snapped. But then Ryu Minsak stopped. He turned back toward the giant zombie and dashed at it, fist raised. Chahiri thought to herself, "We will lure it to the barricade outside the mart. Even that thing cannot break through instantly. I will find its weak spot in the meantime." She neared the mart, but her eyes widened. Wait, why are there still people on the first floor? They should have evacuated already. She stopped. Look back. Damn it. I will distract it somehow. You three, get inside. But when she turned, only Ryudami and the soldier were with her. Why are you alone? Your papa? Do not tell me. Did your papa run away and abandon you? Ryudami pointed. There. A thunderous sound echoed. She turned slowly and saw Ryu Minsak pounding the giant zombie skull with his fists. The monster collapsed under the relentless blows. Families huddled together, and one father covered his crying daughter's eyes to shield her from the brutal sight. Moments later, the giant zombie lay dead. Ryu Minsak stood, breathing heavily. Phew! Chahiri approached with her rifle raised. I am sorry, Minsak said. Everyone froze. He continued, voice trembling. Papa could not keep the promise I made you, Dammy. Because I was too scared of seeing you get hurt. Chahiri leveled her gun at him. You? Who exactly are you? Ryu Minsak opened his palms, adjusted his shades, and calmly answered, Ryu Minsak. Ryudami broke into a cold sweat. Stop. Her father continued. Dami's father? Dami clenched her fists. Stop, Papa. If you reveal yourself now, you will be in danger. Ryu Minsak's red eyes glinted as he looked at Chahiri. Zombie expert. Both women froze in shock. Expert? Yes, Minsak replied. Since the outbreak, I have analyzed their traits and weaknesses to survive. Glad I could be helpful today. Looking forward to working with you all. He smiled. Chahiri smirked back, but her expression was laced with suspicion. She slid close to him, pressing her knife against his throat. Dami panicked. What are you doing? Stay quiet, Hiri ordered. Her eyes narrowed. You beat down a monster immune to bullets with your bare hands, and those red eyes, they are just like them. She leaned close to his face and whispered, Answer me. Are you even human? Zombie expert? Seductively, she slid her knife to his throat. What are you doing? Dami cried out. Quiet, Chahiri hissed. Her eyes narrowed. You defeated a monster immune to bullets with your bare hands, and those red eyes, they are just like theirs. She leaned in close to his face. Answer me. Are you even human, zombie expert? Ryu Minsak's smile did not fade. No. The gunshots did have an effect. What? She said, confused. It was already weakened from the bullets, he explained. I only landed the final blow. That eater was a creature born from two zombies fused together. Tremendous strength, especially defense. But even it had a weakness. In this case, its jaw. He thought silently to himself, of course, not entirely wrong. If you had a steel hammer and enough strength, maybe. Chahiri pressed closer. And your eyes? I have a genetic condition, lacking melanin. That is why I cover them. He pointed at her with faint irritation. And stares like yours make me uncomfortable. Now tell me, do I still look like a zombie to you? Chahiri froze. He is suspicious. Something is off for sure. But there is no way a zombie would protect its daughter. Dami cried out, Stop it! At last, Chahiri lowered her weapon. I will allow it. Come inside. But I will be keeping an eye on you, Mr. Expert. She turned to her soldiers, many of whom were lying dead on the ground. A surviving soldier rushed to her side. Captain, are you okay? She kicked him sharply in the shin. He cried out in pain. Cook! In an emergency, she snapped. Civilians must immediately evacuate to the underground parking lot. Why was this not done? We panicked. The soldier stammered. If that monster had not been stopped, everyone inside would have died, she barked. If it happens again, it will not be zombies killing you. It will be me. Yes, Captain, the soldier shouted, trembling. As she walked away, one soldier muttered bitterly while rubbing his shin. Inside the Mart Plaza, Ryu Minsak finally sat down. Down. Thank God, he whispered. Ryudami crossed her arms. What? That you did not get caught, she said. How can you lie so boldly? My heart almost exploded. I thought you would slip up. Minsak chuckled softly. She is not the type to fall for just any bluff, and she would not recklessly draw a weapon either. You know her? Dami asked. Huh? No, he said after a pause. It just seems that way. As he recalls his past lives with Captain Chahieri, Ryudami said, "Wait, Pa, you know what bluff means? Where did you learn that word?" Ryu Minsak replied, "From my daughter." Ryudami frowned. "Me? I have never taught you that." Ryu Minsak smiled faintly. "You did. Actually, you taught me a lot." He remembered his 60th life. Ryudami, confused, asked, "A lot?" Ryu Minsak stood up and said, "Wait here, Papa will bring you something to eat." Ryudami twirled her hair, still confused, while Ryu Minsak smirked. He remembered her words from earlier. "Promise me," she had said, holding a pair of sunglasses. "You will not tell anyone about you changing. If people find out, they might hurt you. Promise me you will keep this secret, all right?" Ryu Minsak thought to himself, "Damn, he is right. If my identity is exposed here, people will be thrown into panic." He glanced at the other survivors and then shouted, "Dammy, Papa's back!" But she was already asleep on the floor. Ryu Minsak placed a blanket over her and whispered to himself, "But why?" The zombies are appearing in stages far faster than before, over 100 at the door, and mutated ones after only a week. This is unprecedented. Not once in my past 99 lives, it is turning everything into a variable. Why are the zombies changing? I have a guess. Me. A few hours later, at night, Ryu Minsak muttered, "I can feel it. They are looking for me. They want me and my daughter dead. I cannot tell if our existence disturbs them or if they fear us. But one thing is clear. To them, I am a variable as well." "So, all the zombies in this area are gathered here? Good job." He set down a ladder. "I will not have to look around anymore." "What? Let's hurry up and get started, before my daughter wakes up." He grabbed the ladder and snapped it in two. "I have to cook," a mutated zombie growled at him. The horde charged. Ryu Minsak swung the ladder like a weapon, slamming the jaw of an eater and sending it crashing into the others. He rampaged through them, killing one after another, even using torn limbs of the dead to strike down their fellows. He kicked a zombie aside and crushed another eater. His hand twitched, his eyes glowing red, and he smashed another into the ground with his fist. Suddenly, several mutated zombies spewed poison at him, filling the air with a toxic cloud. Ryu Minsak leapt above it and cut them down instantly. Twin axes appeared in his hands as he cleaved his way through the horde. The leaders tried to flee, but he caught one by the face and slammed it into the ground. It screamed in agony. With a single swing of his axe, he killed the boss of the zombies. A few hours later, at dawn, in the Amart storage, Ryudami slept peacefully. She stirred, opened her eyes, stretched, and murmured, "Urgh." She froze when she saw Ryu Minsak. "You are awake, sweetheart?" he said gently. "Here, eat up. You must be really hungry, right?" He flexed his arms. Dami's eyes widened, then she smiled. "Mm-hmm." Meanwhile, Captain Chahieri interrogated her soldiers. "Hey," she snapped, "are you messing with me?" "It is true, Captain," one soldier insisted. "Those loud noises yesterday between 1 and 5 in the morning, you heard them too, right?" According to this morning's scouting report, all zombies in the area were found dead. Chahieri slammed the table, her chest heaving with rage. "How was that even possible? Did they fight each other to death or something?" "I could not believe it either," the soldier stammered. "But I saw it clearly with my own eyes." Chahieri muttered to herself, "All those zombies, wiped out in just 4 hours? What the hell is going on here?" She looked at her radio. Her expression hardened. "Wait, that means—" She sat down heavily. "Gather everyone." "Captain?" the soldier asked, confused. From this moment, Chahieri declared, "We begin our operation to escape from Amart." Outside, a civilian peered through the barricade. "Whoa, it is real. Those damn things. I do not see a single one anywhere. Did they all really disappear?" A woman exclaimed. "Ah, I heard it clearly. The soldiers talking. And that horrible sound. Gree, you do not even hear it anymore." The others cheered. "All the zombies are gone. We are safe now." Ryudami whispered to her father, "Pa, I think the zombies really did disappear." Ryu Minsak placed a hard hat on her head. "Dami, listen carefully. Later, no matter what, you must not take off this helmet. Got it?" "Later?" she asked, still puzzled. At that moment, Captain Chahieri approached with her soldiers and raised a megaphone. "This morning, for reasons still unknown, we confirmed that all zombies in the area have been wiped out." "Wow! So it is true! We are saved!" The crowd roared with joy. Chahieri continued, "Therefore, we will leave this place now." The cheers fell silent. "Leave?" someone muttered. "Hey, I did not mishear, did I?" "No, you heard right. We are leaving? But if there are no zombies, why?" 3 days ago, right before we lost radio contact, There was a unit we were in close communication with, the 2nd Mechanized Infantry Brigade. Supposedly, they are the only surviving brigade in the Gyeonggi region. They still have an entire battalion of armored vehicles, a brigade-sized force, and most importantly, they are able to take in civilians. A boy shouted in fear. You want us to leave based on a single radio call? Another added, yeah. How do we know it is even real? Captain Chahyeri said. There is no need to worry about that. I know better than anyone who was on the other end, also known as Blue Hawk. If it is that person, I trust them completely. People in the crowd shouted, what nonsense! You want us to risk everything based on a call that got cut off 3 days ago? That is just suicide. Captain Chahyeri raised her megaphone and shouted, we have to go. If zombies show up again, we will not be able to hold out. An old man shouted back, impossible, we will not go. The zombies will not come back. Another man sneered, look, I knew this would happen eventually. That kind of emotional and reckless decision. If a man were the leader, would he really have done it? Am I wrong? Captain Chahyeri stiffened. What? Suddenly, Ryu Minsok stepped forward and said firmly, no, the zombies will come back. The man in a blue fake Nike cap shouted, who are you to act like you know everything? Captain Chahyeri answered for him, expert. The man in the fake blue Nike cap frowned. Another man in a fake Adidas shirt muttered, expert? The man in the cap was shocked as Ryu Minsok glared at him and said, if you stay here, you are basically putting yourself on a platter for them. His voice dropped cold as he added, you call that living? Then looking down on him, he said, that is just waiting for death. The man in the fake blue Nike cap staggered back in confusion. His daughter tugged on his sleeve and asked, Dad, what happened? An old man hesitantly asked Ryu Minsok, but if we go, can you guarantee we will survive? Ryu Minsok answered flatly, I cannot guarantee anything, a man scoffed. See, just all talk. Ryu Minsok countered, let me ask you something then. You want to not follow the soldiers and survive without any help from them? Is that possible for you? The crowd fell silent. Finally, a man in a fake Lacoste jacket said, now that I think about it, Captain Cha is right. Another man in a fake Nike shirt shouted, yeah, without the soldiers we are dead for sure. A bespectacled man cried out, go, let us go. The only reason we have survived this long is because of them. The crowd erupted in cheers. Let us do this. Let us trust the soldiers. Let us follow Captain Cha. Captain Chahyeri, stunned, whispered to herself. In an instant, without effort, he turned everyone's opinion around. Just who is this guy? Ryu Minsok turned to her and said, no need to thank me. Shocked, Captain Chahyeri stammered. What? When did I? Ryu Minsok calmly added, I am used to persuading people in tough situations. Honestly, this is about protecting my daughter and myself too. He extended his hand and said, if it is you, Captain, I know you will pull it off. Captain Chahyeri stared at him, speechless, before regaining her composure. She raised her voice. We will begin the escape operation now. I, Chahyeri, will make sure every one of you gets out alive. A few moments later, the convoy began to move. Ryudami gazed out the window, an old lady beside her sweating nervously. Soldiers at the front vehicles gripped their weapons, sweat running down their faces. Captain Chahyeri stood at the back of the truck bed, eyes fixed on the road ahead. We will approximately, she muttered under her breath. They passed a road sign, north, Yeouido, east, Mangwon-dong, west, Sunyudo, the driver said. Crossing the Han River again after all this time feels weird. Captain Chahyeri warned, stay sharp. This is only the beginning. Suddenly, a soldier shouted while pointing ahead, Sergeant Shin! Zombies leapt toward the convoy. Gree! They shrieked. Captain Chahyeri grabbed the radio. Zombies spotted. Operation commence! Civilians and Team C to the right. We are going left, she muttered to herself. First trait of zombies. Their hearing is more sensitive than their sight. The soldiers tossed trash cans and debris behind them, creating loud clatters. The zombies immediately gave chase. Gree! They cried. Captain Chahyeri shouted, it worked! They are starting to follow us. Just keep your distance and do not let them catch up, Sergeant Shin shouted back. But Captain! There are too many zombies now. They will catch up at this rate. With just this many. Captain Chahyeri looked back and snapped, head for Seongsan Bridge! And moments later they reached the bridge, only to find the middle destroyed. Captain Chahyeri clenched her teeth. Second trait of zombies, she thought. She urged her driver, just a little more, she reminded. Herself, no matter the situation, they always charged straight at humans. Ryu Minsok grabbed her bag and shouted, now! Sergeant Shin slammed the wheel, drifting the car into a sliding U-turn. Rear! A zombie screeched as it was struck head-on by the car, sent flying into the river below. But more continued to give chase. Captain Cha Hyeri whispered to herself, "Third trait of zombies." A zombie shrieked, "Gree!" She completed her thought. Their rear is their weak spot. At that moment, Ryu Minsak roared as he crushed a zombie beneath a massive road roller. "Road roller coming!" Ryu Minsak muttered to himself, "With tens of tons of pressure, it crushes everything." The flower of heavy machinery. Two zombies merged grotesquely, and the fusion shrieked, "Grah! Ah!" Without hesitation, Ryu Minsak drove straight over it, flattening the monster into a pancake. The others crawled, screeching, "Quee, quee, queek." An eater roared in response, "Grah!" Captain Cha Hyeri and her squad froze in horror at the sight of Ryu Minsak mercilessly crushing the horde. Yet he did not stop. He kept pressing the roller forward, driving with grim determination. A few moments later, inside a bus, Ryu Dami sat silently beside an old lady. She whispered to herself, "What?" Her mind wandered back to earlier that day. "Dad, why do you insist on going?" she had asked. Ryu Minsak had only replied, "No one else can do it but me." "Do not worry, I will go with you." "But what if the soldiers notice you?" she had protested. Now, in the present, a soldier's voice rang out outside. "Captain Cha's team is back." Ryudami turned toward the sound, her heart sinking. She remembered her father's words, "Do not worry, we are just providing support." Her lips trembled as she whispered, "Dad, I will not let it show." Outside, Ryu Minsak rode the road roller, waving casually as if nothing had happened. Captain Cha Hyeri barked an order to Sergeant Shin. "Everyone, fall back, huh? Okay." Shin obeyed. The zombies surged forward. Ryu Minsak pressed down harder, flattening them with brutal efficiency. "We are breaking through in one go," Cha Hyeri shouted. Moments later, the convoy pushed forward. By 1845 in the evening, the 2nd Mechanized Infantry Brigade had safely arrived. Ryu Minsak thought to himself, the 2nd Mechanized Infantry Brigade. A unit that endured even in my previous life under steadfast leadership. A crucial stronghold that must be secured before advancing to the Great War. Arriving in just 8 days, that is record speed. But complacency is forbidden. Even with my enhanced strength, reckless actions could endanger Dami. This time, I will not deviate from the proven path. Now, it truly begins. Sergeant Shin patted him on the back. "That was amazing, expert. Honestly, I was nervous about working with you, but thanks to you, we all survived." Another soldier said, "I only spotted it. I would not even dare to drive that thing." "Did you do manual labor before?" Ryu Minsak shook his head. "No, I learned it. Knowing more is an advantage in survival. Anyway," he added with relief, "glad we all made it safely." "Yeah, thanks," Captain Cha Hyeri said flatly. Ryu Minsak smirked. "What did you just say?" "Yeah," she repeated, expressionless. After that, "Shut up," she snapped, glaring at him. Then at the gate, 1st Battalion Company Commander Sergeant Lee and he saluted. "Welcome, Captain Cha Hyeri. Well, we have been waiting for you." Cha Hyeri returned the salute. "You know me?" "Yes. The Colonel said you would arrive today with your skills." "Colonel Cha mentioned it." "Colonel Cha?" Her face stiffened. "Yes. He said a stubborn woman soldier would cause trouble." Cha Hyeri froze, both shocked and embarrassed, while her team pretended not to hear a word. "Where is the Colonel now?" she demanded. "He went to the back gate. Zombies appeared there." "Did he lead troops himself?" "No." "Right. He is not young anymore." "Not that," Lee and he interrupted nervously. "Then what?" she pressed. Sweat beaded down Lee and he's face. He swallowed hard. "The Colonel handles it alone." And 35 minutes later, at the brigade's back gate, a soldier checked his watch. 27 seconds. Brigade Commander, a new record. Colonel Cha Dong-ho grinned as the last zombie collapsed. "Oh, axes are better than guns. Chopping them up is satisfying, right?" He was no ordinary man. Once the commander of Joint Special Operations, now the 2nd Mechanized. Infantry Brigade Commander, the Blue Hawk, Colonel Cha Dong-ho. "Still, sir, maybe use a gun next time," a soldier suggested. His friend muttered, "What if you lose?" Colonel Cha burst out laughing. "Pftahak! Cha Dong-ho, lose to these things? Do not be ridiculous. A man at the pinnacle of skill sees everything clearly." He eyed the corpse at his feet. "Their combat strength is laughable. What can your puny strength add?" "Nonsense. That is harsh," one soldier muttered. "Frustrating. But he is right," another admitted. The colonel stretched his shoulders with a groan. Ugh, my old bones. Age does not lie. Instead of weaklings, is there not one useful man? A guttural growl rose behind him. Grrr. He turned. Huh? You are still alive? The eater lunged, shrieking, but before it could reach him, boom! The creature was crushed flat beneath a road roller. A soldier gaped. What is that? Colonel Cha Dong-ho's eyes narrowed at the monstrous machine, and at the man driving it. His confident smirk faltered. In the distance he saw it, a demon silhouette, staring straight at him. Colonel Cha Dong-ho muttered to himself, their combat strength, their size. Ryu Min-sik spoke calmly. Hello? I came here with Captain Cha Hae-ri. My name is Ryu Min-sok. I heard your story, and I thought, maybe I could help. Without hesitation, Colonel Cha Dong-ho lunged forward, swinging his axe. Ryu Min-sok twisted his body, barely evading the strike. Brigade Commander, a soldier screamed. His comrade shouted, Why so suddenly? He is just a civilian. But then, his eyes widened in disbelief. What? Ryu Min-seok had caught the axe blade with his bare hand. The soldier stammered, trembling. Is that even possible? Brigade Commander, another soldier whispered. Colonel Cha Dong-ho's voice thundered. You men get inside immediately. Sound the red alert. This guy, he is a monster. Your eyes cannot be deceived. Ryu Min-seok said softly. Colonel Cha Dong-ho. What? The colonel muttered, confused. With a sharp crack, Ryu Min-sok broke the axe head clean off with his grip. I must stay here, Ryu Min-sok declared. To do that, I have to convince you. But words will not work. Instead, let me show you in the way you like best. Colonel Cha Dong-ho's eyes widened in shock. Ryu Min-sok raised his fist. Who I am. Yaksha rule. Conversation body begins. Colonel Cha Dong-ho sneered. So you are saying, you want to fight me right now? I have seen a lot in my life, but this is a new level of crazy. He stripped off his arm guards and scoffed. What makes you think I would be interested in that kind of nonsense? Fine. In the blink of an eye, Colonel Cha Dong-ho vanished. He reappeared above Ryu Min-seok, axe gone, fists ready. Let us see just what kind of guy you really are. Over the loudspeakers came the harsh alarm. Code red. Code red. All civilians proceed to the shelters immediately. Captain Cha Hae-ri's eyes narrowed. Code red? What is going on? A soldier stuttered. I am not sure either. We will explain later. For now, please follow procedure. Is that Captain Cha? Another voice called out. Ah, Captain Quack, the soldier answered. Captain Quack stepped forward, gun in hand. If you are here, then maybe you can tell us what is happening. Cha Hae-ri frowned. You, what are you doing? Captain Quack raised his gun and aimed it directly at her. The monster that attacked the brigadier general at the division's rear gate, it mentioned a name. A monster? Captain Cha Hae-ri demanded, confused. What are you even talking about? Captain Quack's voice was steady. Ryu Min-sik, that is the name it gave. Tell me, who or what is it? Everyone froze in shock. Ryu, Cha Hae-ri muttered. Ryu Dami's body stiffened. Cha Hae-ri whispered again. Ryu Min-suk? Inside the arena of fists, Ryu Min-suk raised his palm. With a single strike, he shattered the concrete wall beside him into rubble. Colonel Cha Dong-ho barked a laugh. One punch broke the wall? And you are still claiming you are human? He lunged, combat boots aimed for Ryu Min-seok's face. Clang! Ryu Min-sok raised his arm, blocking the strike. Then, he disappeared. Colonel Cha Dong-ho's eyes darted. Ryu Min-seok was already above him, fist descending. The colonel twisted just in time, narrowly avoiding the devastating blow. What? His face froze in disbelief. Wham! He countered instantly, landing a punch on Ryu Min-seok's jaw. The two men stood locked in silence, the air heavy with their intent. Colonel Cha Dong-ho grabbed Ryu Min-suk by the collar. You are kidding me, right? You held back just now, did you not? You are going easy on me? Ryu Min-suk said. Yes. Colonel Cha Dong-ho shouted. What was that? You little punk. Ryu Min-suk replied. If I went all out, if I gave it my full strength, I might end up killing you, Colonel. Colonel Cha Dong-ho fell silent. He thought to himself, he is right. From the moment the fight began until now, every cell in my body has been screaming. The overwhelming gap. Colonel Cha Dong-ho pointed at Ryu Min-suk and roared, What do you want? Huh? What on earth do you want from me? Ryu Min-suk said, Protection. That is what I want. Colonel Cha Dong-ho laughed bitterly and said, Pwahaha. That is funny. A freak like you asking for protection? Ryu Min-suk shook his head. No. Colonel Cha Dong-ho was shocked. Ryu Min-suk continued. I am not the one who needs protection. It is not me. It is Ryudami, my daughter. Please allow me, my daughter, and the people who came with us to stay in this brigade. Ryu Minsak then knelt down and said, if you let us stay, I will do whatever it takes for you. A few moments later that night, at the civilian holding area, a man in a fake New Balance jacket whispered, you heard that earlier, right? His friend, wearing a fake Lacoste shirt, nodded. Yeah, he definitely said monster. The man in the jacket muttered, he was acting weird at the supermarket too. Even his gaze looks creepy. His friend said, is it not just melanin deficiency? The man frowned. Think about it. Zombies have red eyes too. His friend went pale. Do not tell me. He is really a zombie. And meanwhile, inside a cell, Ryu Minsak sat tied up and chained, silently waiting. He recalled Colonel Cha Dong-ho's words earlier. Fine. The people you brought with you, we will take them in. But the problem is you, a dangerous man like you. How am I supposed to trust you? Ryu Minsak had answered, isolation. Colonel Cha Dong-ho had frowned. Isolation? If you do not trust me, then put me in solitary. Ryu Minsak had said, I do not know how long it will take, but I will prove I am not a threat. Suddenly, a small voice came from the window. Ta-da! Ryu Minsak turned in shock. Dami, are you okay? Ryudami smiled. Me? Of course I am fine. Once the alert ended, the soldiers were super nice. I even got permission to come out. It was way too stuffy inside the shelter. Ryu Minsak lowered his head. I am sorry. Ryudami tilted her head. I said I would not get involved again, but I broke that promise, Dami. You must be so disappointed in me. Ryudami frowned and lightly pounded his head with her fist. If it were not for you, neither I nor the others would have made it here safely. So hold your head up. No matter what anyone says, I believe in you, Dad. Ryu Minsak smirked, then smiled fully. Ryudami glanced at her watch and exclaimed, Ack, I have to go. If I am late for the 10 o'clock roll call, I am in trouble. Good night, Dad. Ryu Minsak said, You too, Demi. Sleep well. As Ryudami walked away, she smiled. But once she was alone, she stopped, her eyes filling with tears. A single drop rolled down her cheek and fell to the ground. Sniff, sob, hic. Ryu Minsak sat silently, staring at the wall, when suddenly, soldiers entered his cell. Sergeant Lee and he announced, Mr. Ryu Minsak, the Brigadier General wants to see you. A few moments later, in Colonel Cha Dong-ho's office, the colonel pointed at a map and explained, 20 minutes ago, within the collapsed Goopa Ball station, an acoustic sensor picked up signals from multiple survivors. There was also a bizarre, unidentified frequency. The key to this mission is rapid mobilization. Too many troops will only get in the way, so we will go in with an elite unit. Me and, he pointed at Ryu Minsak. You said it, right? That you would do anything for your daughter. Are you ready to prove it? Ryu Minsak raised his hands and instantly shattered the chains like paper. The soldiers gasped in shock. Ryu Minsak locked eyes with Colonel Cha Dong-ho and said firmly, When do we move? Colonel Cha Dong-ho smirked. Then he grinned like a madman. Now, Goopa Ball Station. Rescue operation begins. A few moments later, outside at the entrance of Goopal Station, a boy said to his mother, Mom, Dada, as the survivors waited for rescue. Dayun suddenly hit a man, and his mother said, Dayun, no. Dayun shouted, Mom. An old man groaned, Ugh, what a noisy kid. It is already cramped in here. Seriously, this is so annoying. Dayun's grandmother snapped, Geez, what does a kid even know? Stop whining like that. Dayun lowered his head and said, I am sorry. Then, as he looked upward, he pointed and shouted, Mom. Dayun's mother turned and said, A voice echoed from above, Mom? When she looked up toward the ceiling, she saw a face in the darkness staring down at them. It smiled, and it showed its teeth. Outside the station, zombies lurked about, groaning, Gra, Guma. One zombie paused, confused, staring at a light. Suddenly, it was slammed by an armored vehicle and sent flying. Colonel Cha Dong-ho, driving the vehicle, laughed. Told you, Minsak, my car is tougher than a road roller, huh? Ryu Minsak, staring at his tablet, replied, Right. Cha Dong-ho smirked. Road rollers are strong, but not great for mobility. He plowed through the horde, sending zombies flying. How boring. This time, speed is everything. That is because of two things. Unpredictables. First, the cave-in. The entry point completely collapsed, and even the subway tracks are blocked off. The other is That thing. Some unidentified creature is trapped in there along with the survivors, meaning we do not have a second to waste. As Min Seok tried to navigate on his iPad Pro Max, fully paid, 1 terabyte kernel, Sha tapped the screen and said, Goopal has a relatively wide ventilation shaft. I heard it is still usable. We infiltrate through the vent and rescue the survivors as fast as possible. That is the mission. When inside the station, Dayun's mother and the other survivors hung from the ceiling. She blinked in confusion. Huh? Why am I like this? What is going on? Then she remembered. Dayun. She struggled, searching for her son. Dayun. Dayun, where are you? Suddenly she fell, crashing to the ground. Kia! She sat up in pain, clutching her side. Dayun! An old man asked, Miss, are you okay? She shouted. Choi Dayun. The old man frowned. Choi Dayun. Another man wearing a fake North Face jacket yelled, You there, untie me. She rushed toward him. Mister, you know my kid, right? Have you seen my Dayun? The man snarled. My arms hurt. This is so annoying. Sheesh, how should I know? I do not even know how I got here. What are you doing? Untie me already. Suddenly, above him, Dayun's grandmother crawled along the ceiling. The man sneered, You are the nosy auntie? Mrs. Choi's eyes welled with tears. Mom. Then without warning, the man vanished. Mrs. Choi stumbled through the darkness, desperately searching. She reached the stairs when someone shouted from behind, Hey! What are you doing going down there? The tracks are blocked. An older man added, Kid, what are you doing? Hurry up and come on. But a child's trembling voice said, Dad, in front of you. Zombies leapt from the shadows. Arr! Through the chaos, a faint voice cried out again, Mom! Mrs. Choi sprinted toward it. It is okay, Dayun. Mommy is right here. The voice echoed, Mom! Mom! She gasped, choking back tears. I will be right there. Mommy will be right there soon. Suddenly she stopped in her tracks. Dayun! A massive figure stood before her. It stared at her, chewing on the severed head of a victim while stomping on another. The creature growled, low and thunderous. Mrs. Choi froze, trembling in terror. No, this cannot be happening. The hulking zombie snatched her up. She whimpered, Yes, this is a dream. A terrible nightmare. Just as it was about to devour her, a massive explosion shook the station. The beast reeled, roaring in agony. Ah! Gah! Mrs. Choi collapsed to the ground, sobbing. Earlier, Ryu Min Seok had warned, We tried everything we could, but we could not save a single person. In short, now, clad in a roka shirt, veins bulging, his entire body burst into flames. With human methods, it is impossible. Ryu Min Seok trait, Dami's daddy whispered grimly, Skinwalker. It hunts by knocking humans unconscious. It mimics human faces. It is a spider-type high-rank creature. Flames surged around him as he glared at the monster. The Skinwalker hissed in panic, Apupapap, apapa. Ah! It spat sticky webbing toward Min Seok. But Min Seok seized the strands, yanking the creature with its own spit, slamming it into the ground. In other words, its weakness is... He leapt forward, fists blazing. He pummeled the Skinwalker relentlessly. Apupapapa! It shrieked. Min Seok roared to himself, overwhelm it with flames, not giving it even a moment to resist. He raised his flaming fist, ended in one strike. Suddenly a rock struck his arm. Mrs. Choi, trembling, cried out, Do not. Min Seok turned to her. She wept bitterly. My son. Do not you touch my son? The Skinwalker seized the moment. It lunged, jaws wide, growling in Min Seok's face. And with a thunderous blow, Ryu Min Seok was hurled away. Mrs. Choi knelt to the ground as he looked above. She collapsed as Ryu Min Seok managed to land, groaning. The Skinwalker continued to scream as it tried to devour him. Ryu Min Seok stared at it while it approached, and he remembered what Ryu Dami once told him. No matter what anyone says, I trust Dad. So, lift your head. Ryu Min Seok forcefully raised his head, then slammed it into the ground. He lifted it again and the Skinwalker shrieked in agony. Pooh, it began to say. Suddenly, Ryu Min Seok struck with a devastating uppercut, his fist smashing the Skinwalker's chin. Abuba! Umbaba! The creature groaned in pain. Ryu Min Seok glared and declared, No, you are wrong. He brought his knee crashing down on its face. Kuik! Kiara Raya! The Skinwalker wailed. Ryu Min Seok said coldly, That disgusting crying sound. That is the sound you are supposed to make. From now on, the only thing that will come out of your mouth is a scream. The skinwalker shrieked in terror, "Quack!" and Ryu Minsok tore its limbs apart. In another place, zombies tried to force their way into a room. "Ah!" they cried. The people inside slammed the door shut. "Block it! Block it harder! The door will not last. If it breaks, we are finished," someone shouted. Another muttered, "Are those really zombies? They make no sound, and their expressions are so bizarre." An old man barked, "Shut your mouth and just block it properly." But then he froze in shock. What is this? Cough. Cough. Smoke. Something's on fire," a boy cried. Can't. Cough. Breathe. Cough. Another wheezed. A frightened boy whimpered, "You are wrong. We are all going to die. Stop saying unlucky things," the old man snapped. "Dad," his son whispered. The old man looked back. "You again? What now?" the boy said, trembling. "Do you not feel it?" Their movements stopped. The door hinges creaked. Suddenly the door burst open. The door broke. The boy screamed, "Dad, get down! Who are you? Who are you?" The old man stammered. Through the smoke, Ryu Minsok appeared, carrying Mrs. Choi. Smoke curled from his body as he stepped over the corpses of the defeated zombies. And just before the Goopa Ball Station rescue, the covers from the underground shifted and flew away. Colonel Cha Dong-ho stared at the opening, his eyes wide. The others were stunned, but Colonel Cha Dong-ho's lips curved into a smile of pure joy. By morning, total number of survivors, 37 people. A perfectly isolated space where escaping zombies had been impossible. A soldier discovered a cocoon of web among the debris. Sergeant Lee and he frowned in confusion. Mrs. Choi opened it and found Dayun inside. Ryu Dami whispered to herself, saving nearly 40 people from inside there. It was literally a miracle. And so, her father became known as the Man of Miracles. The people rejoiced, their eyes fixed on Ryu Minsok. He smiled and waved back at them. Sergeant Shin said to Captain Chahieri, "I thought he was unusual, but I did not expect it to be to this extent. Truly amazing, sir." Captain Chahieri flushed and scratched her cheek awkwardly. Colonel Cha Dong-ho clapped thunderously. "You have passed. Perfectly passed. Bahat!" Ryu Minsok turned and looked at Ryu Dami. She smiled at him. He silently reached for her hand and pulled her into an embrace. Goopa Ball Station Rescue Operation Report, and total identified, 52 dead, 15 and injured, 12 minor and final survivors, 37 operation complete. At the living quarters, Captain Kwok whispered gravely, "This is bad. After the mission, he has been coughing a lot and keeps sleeping. Was it too much for him?" "Do not worry, sir. I will bring the medicine later," a soldier replied as he closed the door. Sergeant Lee and he lay on the bed, seemingly at rest. Suddenly, a bulge swelled from his neck. His eyes snapped open, and a chilling smile spread across his face. Ryu Minsok said to himself, the right to be a father. At night, while the people celebrated, Ryu Dami and Mrs. Choi sat next to each other as she held Dayun. Colonel Cha Dong-ho cracked open his cold 1% light beer from Korea and laughed heartily, saying, "Ha ha ha! When I first saw you, I knew you were capable of something big." He tapped Ryu Minsok's back and continued, "But I never thought you would do so well." Smiling, he added, "Keep up the good work, Ryu Minsok." Colonel Cha Dong-ho looked at his cheap beer and said, "Ha! On a day like this, we should be partying all night long. But we have to keep it simple, right? If we get too drunk on our own, the ones who left us first will feel sad, will they not? Let's make a toast. To those who left this hell first." He raised his can, then added, "And to us who will survive until the end." Ryu Minsok clinked his can against Colonel Cha Dong-ho's and drank silently as he gazed ahead. After a moment, Ryu Minsok asked, "Why are you not asking me?" Colonel Cha Dong-ho paused mid-drink, confused. "Why are you not asking why I was so sure your plan would fail? Why I became a monster like this? Are you not curious?" Ryu Minsok pressed. Colonel Cha Dong-ho replied, "I know. I am not interested in stories. If you only have words, what is there to fear? It is action that counts. I am interested in the will to save people from this hell. The people here are all you need." He smiled as he spoke, and Ryu Minsok found himself smiling back. "Colonel, you have not changed at all," Ryu Minsok said. Colonel Cha Dong-ho was taken aback, frowning in confusion. "What are you talking about?" "Nothing," Ryu Minsok answered. "Ah, then let me ask you one thing," said Colonel Cha Dong-ho. "Huh?" Ryu Minsak tilted his head. You said your destination was Daejeon, right? Then why are you here? With your ability, you could have reached there already if you had hurried. Because I have work to do at this brigade, Ryu Minsak answered. Work? The colonel repeated. And Ryu Minsak trailed off, lost in thought about his past. He murmured to himself, every time I have been impatient and rushed, the result has never been good. Colonel Cha Dong-ho narrowed his eyes. You are it, right? How do you know that? Ryu Minsak asked in surprise. I can tell just by looking at you, said the colonel. The thing that is the closest in the world, yet the hardest to control, is a child. Ryu Minsak deflected. By the way, I do not see Captain Cha. Where did she go? Colonel Cha Dong-ho fell silent, then suddenly chugged his cheap beer. Ryu Minsak blinked in shock, confused by the sudden change. At that moment, Ryu Dami walked over. Dad. Colonel Cha Dong-ho waved at the soldiers and said, Hey, bring the beer. Ryu Minsak turned toward Ryu Dami, puzzled. I am going in first. I am more tired than usual today, Ryu Dami said quietly. Ryu Minsak stood up and told Colonel Cha Dong-ho, I will be right back. No, I am not a child, Ryu Dami protested. The road is dark, Ryu Minsak said. Let us go together. The two of them walked away side by side. Colonel Cha Dong-ho watched them leave. Ryu Minsak exhaled with a weary sigh, sweat beading on his forehead. Can he even make a face like that? He is still a father after all, Colonel Cha Dong-ho murmured. It is good to have a young father today. He lifted his cold cheap beer once more and drank deeply, then closed his eyes. Daejeon, I am sorry, Ryu Minsak. I do not think I can let you go so easily. Thanks to you, I can make a plan again. Lee Cha-pung-ho's plan. Suddenly, Captain Kwok approached. Brigade Commander. Oh, you brought beer, Captain Kwok said. Brigade Commander. Colonel Cha Dong-ho was shocked. Captain Kwok continued. We have a problem, as he wiped the sweat from his forehead and held the back of his neck. A few moments later, Ryu Minsak and Ryu Dami appeared in the distance. Ryu Minsak's eyes lingered on Ryu Dami. He recalled Colonel Cha Dong-ho's words from earlier. The thing that is the closest in the world, but the hardest to control, is a child. Still looking at Ryu Dami, Ryu Minsak said softly, Dami. Ryu Dami, confused, glanced back at him. I have something I want to ask you, Ryu Minsak said. Are you not scared? In his mind, he thought, even though I look completely different now, Dami accepted me as her dad without hesitation. He asked again, Dami, are you not scared of Dad? Without hesitation, Ryu Dami replied, I am. A chill ran down Ryu Minsak's spine. I was scared every single day, Ryu Dami continued. Scared that one day you might kill me too, but you know, it is too hard to pretend anymore. So tell me, where is my real dad, you monster bastard? Suddenly she shouted, Dad! Ryu Minsak snapped back to reality. Ryu Dami was gently holding his muscular bicep. What are you doing? She asked. What are you thinking so hard about? Ryu Minsak silently looked at her. He forced a smile and replied, sweating, Oh, nothing. How boring, Ryu Dami said. You have a bad cough, Ryu Minsak remarked. Are you okay? I do not know. It just will not stop, she admitted. Oh my goodness. Why do you not put something on? Go inside, I will go get some medicine. Suddenly, Ryu Minsak felt something unusual in the air. Ryu Dami, he said sharply. She answered, confused. Ryu Minsak was about to strike with all his strength, his hand moving dangerously close to Ryu Dami's chest. She screamed in fear. Ah! But Ryu Minsak suddenly clenched his fist and crushed something. Ryu Dami gasped, shocked and confused. Dad, what is it? What is wrong? Opening his palm, Ryu Minsak muttered, This is... A mosquito lay crushed in his hand. A mosquito? Ryu Dami asked. Suddenly, an announcement blared through the speakers. Code Black initiated. Evacuate immediately. Colonel Cha Dong-ho turned to Captain Kwok. The voice repeated with urgency, This is a real situation. Captain Kwok lowered his head, then slowly looked back at Colonel Cha Dong-ho with a chilling smile. The announcement continued. Republic of Korea Army. Inside the brigade. Zombie outbreak. Earlier, Ryu Minsak said, Eater. Colonel Cha Dong-ho was shocked and said, How did you know I was the one who gave it that name, Eater? When I first saw him with his bulging belly, I thought he was so ugly, but after seeing that spider-like thing this time, wow, Eater looks like a handsome guy now, Ryu Minsak said. They evolve, more cunning, more powerful. as Ryu Min-sok drank the cheap beer from Korea. In the present, Colonel Cha Dong-ho said, "Their threat against us will not stop." A zombie soldier suddenly leapt toward him. Colonel Cha Dong-ho grabbed its throat with his huge hands. Ryu Min-sok had said earlier, "That is why I chose this place." Colonel Cha Dong-ho, who could bench press 230.5 kilograms with only one arm, a force surpassing a whole brigade. The blue hawk soaring across the battlefield, he grabbed the face of the zombie soldier and ripped it apart like a piece of paper. Ryu Min-sok thought to himself, "We have you." People gathered and one of them said, "Zombies," appeared. And inside the brigade, Colonel Cha Dong-ho, holding the head of the zombie soldier, looked back and said, "You guys, quickly get the people to the shelter." A soldier with glasses froze and stammered, "Ah!" Colonel Cha Dong-ho shouted, "Hey, do you all want to die?" The soldiers panicked and shouted, "No!" as they hurried to assist the civilians. "Everyone move quickly, hurry!" Colonel Cha Dong-ho muttered, "This freaking virus. How did it crawl all the way into my brigade?" Suddenly he noticed something and froze. "What is this? This scar?" He saw a bite mark on the chin of the zombie's head. Then a scream rang out in the distance. "Ah!" Colonel Cha Dong-ho turned toward the voice. Zombie soldiers leapt toward the others. The soldiers screamed, "It's a zombie!" Colonel Cha Dong-ho suddenly kicked the face of a leaping zombie, slamming it to the ground. He picked up a stick and smashed its face with one brutal swing. "You there, go get my gear. You there, go get my gear. And you, go find Ryu Min-sok. Hurry up." The weaker soldiers of Korea ran away and shouted, "Yes." Colonel Cha Dong-ho faced the incoming zombies alone and growled, "How dare they run wild like this, not even knowing where they are?" He swung the stick and bashed a zombie soldier's face. "This is my territory," he roared. With nothing but a stick, he rampaged among the zombies. The kingdom that Cha Dong-ho built. He pierced a zombie soldier's throat, lifted it high, and hurled it toward another. Another zombie leapt at him. He staked its throat and grunted, "Ugh!" Yet another zombie lunged from behind. Gritting his teeth, Colonel Cha Dong-ho bellowed, "Code Black, everyone, get to the shelter." Inside the shelter, Ryu Min-sok placed a hard hat on Ryu Dami's head. "Dami, remember? You cannot take this off again. Okay?" Ryu Dami frowned. "Dad, is this not a bit too much this time?" She was dressed in jeans, a thick hoodie, construction gloves, a face mask, a hard hat, safety goggles, and even a chastity belt. "What is it?" she asked. "What kind of zombie?" "You know, Dad," Ryu Min-sok said, "Mosky. They are super small, mosquito-like zombies." Ryu Dami's eyes widened in shock. Ryu Min-sok said, "If you get bitten, the incubation period varies, but you will eventually turn into a zombie." And then he thought to himself, "I did not expect this. This is the first time I have seen this variant, even in my past life. So what? Who cares? That is no excuse, Ryu Min-sok." Ryu Dami, watching her father mutter to himself and make strange movements, said, "Dad?" But Ryu Min-sok kept talking to himself. "If Dami dies, everything ends. The mosquitoes are swarming again. They are only appendages. The main body is somewhere else, outside." Captain Chahiri snapped, "What, mosquitoes?" "Yes. They are presumed to be mosquito-type zombies. Minimize skin exposure." This is an expert opinion from Ryu Min-sok. Captain Chahiri froze in shock. "Ryu Min-sok." Her voice trailed off as she thought of Colonel Cha Dong-ho's unsettling smile. Seeing Ryu Min-sok alongside Colonel Cha Dong-ho only made her clench her teeth in frustration. Sergeant Shin asked, "Captain, what is wrong? Cover your skin as much as possible," Captain Chahiri ordered, and immediately joined the internal suppression. "Yes, ma'am," Sergeant Shin responded. "Where is the brigade leader?" she demanded. Well, Sergeant Shin hesitated. From the wall, another soldier shouted, "Captain, there is a single zombie outside the brigade." "A single one?" Captain Chahiri snapped. "Do you not know what is happening inside the brigade?" The soldier shook his head. "No, it is not that. Its appearance is strange." "Strange appearance?" she pressed. The soldier swallowed hard. "Well, how should I say this?" He turned back toward the creature and froze. "A toad?" From its mouth, mosquitoes began to crawl out. It opened its mouth wider. And then even wider, a massive swarm of mosquitoes suddenly poured out like a flood. The soldier's eyes widened. "Mosquitoes! A massive swarm of mosquitoes is spewing from its mouth." "What?" Captain Chahiri gasped in shock. The swarm rose into the night sky like a living storm. The soldiers screamed in terror. "Ugh!" "Everyone, run into the building," Captain Chahieri shouted. But when she turned back, her eyes widened in disbelief. Ryu Minsak leapt above them, landing with a flamethrower in his hands. "That's no way," Captain Chahieri muttered. Earlier, a soldier had tried to stop him. "Mr. Ryu Minsak, no, I am a civilian," Ryu Minsak had replied firmly. "You are the soldiers, are you not? I will not say it a second time. I am staying here." Ryu Dami had taken off her hard hat and placed it on her father's head. "Do not worry. Right now, not even a lion can bite me, let alone a mosquito." "Ryu Dami!" he shouted. She looked at the soldiers, then down at her trembling hands. "I want all these people to live, but I cannot do anything." Her eyes welled up as she looked at her father. "But Dad, you can. Please, Dad." Now, outside, Ryu Minsak landed hard on the wall, shattering it from impact. He set down the LPG tank. Dami's silent prayer echoed in his mind. "Go and save not just me, but everyone." Ryu Minsak aimed the flamethrower at the massive swarm, his gaze sharp and unyielding. Target, pests. Objective, eradication. Tactics, flame. He pulled the trigger, and the fire roared out, engulfing the sky, and reducing the swarm of zombie mosquitoes to nothing but ashes. Ryu Minsak continued blasting flames with his flamethrower at the swarm of mosquito zombies. The other zombie mosquitoes tried to flee from the inferno, but the flames devoured them mercilessly. Slider watched the blazing firestorm as the swarm was wiped out, its many compound eyes wide open. Ryu Minsak slaughtered every last mosquito zombie, and then his gaze suddenly turned to Slider. Slider looked back at him. It crouched, preparing to leap. In an instant, it jumped away. Ryu Minsak gritted his teeth in frustration, scanning the surroundings before leaping after it. He landed near the jeep where Captain Chahieri was waiting, and together they sped off in pursuit. Ryu Minsak said, Captain Chahieri asked, "Is that the one? The one that turned our brigade into a mess? And once again, you know how to kill that thing, right?" Ryu Minsak answered, "Yes." Captain Chahieri narrowed her eyes. "Good. First, we take down that thing. After that, be ready. I have a mountain of questions for you. If you mock me again with lies, I will not let it slide. Got it?" Ryu Minsak stared at her silently, then gave a nod. Captain Chahieri pressed her foot down, flooring the gas pedal. The jeep surged forward, its speed climbing from 10 kilometers per hour to 11. Moments later, in a ruined town, Slider stood before the entrance of a dark cave. Ryu Minsak muttered to himself, "Slider, a high-level creature zombie that multiplies by copying its attached organisms." Slider opened its maw and shrieked, "Quick! Quick!" The sound echoed deep into the cave. From the darkness, countless eyes snapped open, followed by a grin. The being within smiled at Slider. It was the true Slider, a host-type creature zombie. Slider leaped, crying out again, "Quick! Quick!" Ryu Minsak thought its main body usually hides in darkness, caves or tunnels, which makes it difficult to find. The host screamed once more, "Quick! Quick! That is why what we need is..." Ryu Minsak suddenly appeared, grabbing the host's head and slamming it into the ground. "A surprise attack," he muttered, pressing its face deeper into the dirt. The host screeched, spitting out a swarm of zombie mosquitoes that darted toward the outside. But as soon as they emerged, a wall of fire incinerated them instantly. Captain Chahieri stood outside with her flamethrower ready, preparing to unleash another blast. Earlier, over the radio, "All right, I understand. Make sure to finish it properly." "Yes," a soldier had replied. Now Captain Chahieri reported to Ryu Minsak, "They say the brigade has entered the cleanup phase. The civilians, and your daughter, will be safe too." Ryu Minsak thought to himself, even if problems occur, strong leadership ensures the strength to recover quickly. "That is why I came to Cha Peng Ho's brigade," he said aloud. "Thank you for letting me know." Captain Chahieri replied, "It is fine. You are the one who saved it anyway. The suppression was possible so quickly because the initial response was accurate. And I heard that was your decision. How do you know all this so well?" Ryu Minsak cut her off. "It is not over yet. If we do not kill its host, the brigade will be in danger again." Captain Chahieri thought to herself, "Right. Questions can wait. What matters now is taking down that thing." She pulled on her mask, glancing at Ryu Minsak. "Like you said, I just need to block its escape route, right?" Ryu Minsak nodded. Yes. Not giving it any opening was the key. As Ryu Minsak stood up, he muttered, "But that alone is not enough. He thought to himself, its biggest characteristic is excessive reproduction. It keeps multiplying its attached organisms, and their numbers are impossible to estimate. Facing the swarm of sliders, he recalled what he had told Captain Chieri earlier. They form a biological connection with each other. Even if you kill the host, if the attached organisms remain alive, the host will regenerate. Captain Chieri had gasped. What? Then there's no way. Once again, you have a method, right? Yes, Ryu Minsak had replied. Now, in the present, he struck a rock with his fist. The impact echoed, then he punched even harder until the tunnel collapsed. Dust billowed. The slider host was sealed inside with him. Captain Chieri looked at the caved-in tunnel in shock. Inside, Ryu Minsak's voice echoed in the darkness. The way to stop its multiplication is simple. Trap it. And until it stops. He was trapped with the host and millions of its spawn. His lips curled into a grim smile. Just keep killing. His voice thundered. Perfect. To kill you in one go. He thought of Ryudami and her earlier plea. His fury burned. My anger is too hot. With a roar, he charged straight at the slider host. Outside, Captain Chieri heard the furious rampage from within the cave. She broke into a sweat, muttering, "Crazy fool. What the hell is he? Ryu Minsak?" Earlier that day, she had asked, starting today. "We're supposed to support Ryu Minsak?" Colonel Cha Dong-ho had answered coldly. "Do you still not get it? Ryu Minsak is not only this brigade's, but humanity's answer." Later, during the chaos, a soldier had called through the radio, "Captain Cha, please respond. Captain, where are you right now?" She had shouted back, "What is going on?" The report that followed had left her speechless. A few hours later, as the sun rose, silence fell over the cave. Then a broken hand pushed up through the rubble. Ryu Minsak dragged himself free, whispering to himself, time taken 18 hours, 26 minutes, 34 seconds. Number of attached organisms the slider multiplied, a total of 7,127,446 entities, all destroyed. Bones cracked as he straightened his mangled limbs. He stood tall, silent, victorious, and he whispered, "By a single transcendent being, Black Code Operation Report, and deaths, 21 and injured, 19 serious, 18 minor in cause, slider and attached organisms 1 plus 7,100. 27,446 entities on status. Elimination complete." More, that night, back at the base, Captain Chieri stared in shock at Colonel Cha Dong-ho. Her voice trembled. "Brai." He stood at a distance, gaze fixed on her. She whispered, "Brigade Commander?" Captain Chieri was shocked and said, "Commander?" as she looked at Colonel Cha Dong-ho taking a chip from his bag. He took a crunchy bite of his squid chip and said in confusion, "Huh? What's with that face? Like you've seen a ghost?" He kept munching on the chip, unfazed. Captain Chieri, not amused, was confused. Earlier, he had received a radio call, and she had shouted, "What? The commander is in danger." Chieri said to Colonel Cha Dong-ho, "I mean, over the radio, I heard that you were in danger." Colonel Cha Dong-ho, still munching, said, "Oh ho?" Then he suddenly burst into laughter and said, "Bah! So that's why your face looks like that? What a scary scowl. Yesterday you were hopping, mad because I ignored what you said, but now you're worried I might die? Va ha ha ha, so you were worried, huh?" Captain Chieri trembled in annoyance. A weak soldier spoke up. "The commander stopped all the zombies in this plaza. He fought them off barehanded, without a single piece of gear. Thanks to that, every civilian was evacuated safely. They looked at the dead zombies around them. Colonel Cha Dong-ho showed his arm and said, "I got a little hurt in the process, though. It was close. Must have been what the radio picked up. I'm not what I used to be anymore." Captain Chieri, annoyed, turned around and muttered, worrying over some monster geezer. "I must have been the fool." Colonel Cha Dong-ho snapped, "Watch your mouth, girl. You don't talk to your superior like that. Anyway, what is it?" Chieri turned back, confused. Colonel Cha Dong-ho asked, "Why are you alone? Where's Minsak? Did you take out that toad? Main body, right, zombie?" Captain Chieri had left Ryu Minsak in the mountains. She said quietly, "You said yesterday." Colonel Cha Dong-ho was confused, but Chieri remembered what he had said. "Ryu Minsak, that guy. He's humanity's answer." Chieri whispered to herself, "Somehow." A few hours later, Captain Chieri, Colonel Cha Dong-ho, and the other soldiers saw Ryu Minsak arriving. Colonel Cha Dong-ho waved at him with a smile. Ryu Minsak, shirtless, stood silently at a distance. He looked at Captain Chieri and smiled. Chieri thought to herself, I think I'm starting to get it. The next day, Captain Chahyeri practiced saying, "Here, take this." She imagined different scenarios of speaking to Ryu Minsak. "Don't you think it's been hotter lately?" "Ha ha. You dropped this from your pocket. Isn't it yours?" And picked it up on the way. "Drink up." But she burst out like a volcano in frustration, shouting, "Rar! I can't do this!" Other soldiers looked at her. Chahyeri groaned, "Ugh, I'm going crazy. How am I supposed to act natural?" Officer Shin noticed her. That's Captain Cha, right? What's she doing over there by herself?" His friend shrugged. "Heck if I know. Not my problem." Chahyeri muttered, "Should I even give it to him?" "Bah, why bother with some liar? He's not even handsome. Hoo-hoo. Still, it's only right to say thanks." She imagined Ryu Minsak's shirtless smile from yesterday and then looked at the Hokari sweat can in her hand. Because Ryu Minsak really did save the brigade. Suddenly, she saw Ryu Minsak and Colonel Cha Dong-ho talking in the distance. "Huh? Ryu Minsak is with the commander? What's he doing there?" She froze as the two flexed their biceps while talking. Captain Chahyeri walked seductively down the stairs, her wide hips swaying and her chest rising with every breath. She muttered to herself, "Perfect timing. It's less awkward with three. I'll just give it quick and go." She paused, peeking from the corner as she overheard Colonel Cha Dong-ho. What did you say just now?" the colonel asked. Ryu Minsak replied firmly, "I meant exactly what I said. Tonight my daughter and I will be leaving this place." Chahyeri's eyes widened in shock, sweat forming on her forehead. Colonel Cha Dong-ho inhaled deeply, silent for a moment before speaking. "So you're really going to Daejeon? I can't stop you, but do you really have to rush it like this? You said you had things to do. If something worse than sliders appears, our whole brigade will be wiped out. Stay until we build more strength. Can't you hold out just a little longer?" Ryu Minsak's voice was cold. "Why should I? Why should I do anything for the brigade?" Hieri's heart tightened as she hid, listening. "Whether these people live or die has nothing to do with me," Ryu Minsak continued. Shocked, Chahyeri stomped out from her hiding place. Colonel Cha Dong-ho flinched, breaking into a sweat. Hieri glared at Ryu Minsak. "Those words, did you mean it?" "Yes," Minsak answered flatly. "The only one that matters to me is Dami. Whatever happens to you people, I don't care." Chahyeri lowered her gaze, teeth gritted as silent anger swelled inside her. Without another word, she turned and walked away. "Chahyeri!" Colonel Cha Dong-ho called out, but she did not stop. Meanwhile, Ryu Minsak thought to himself, when following the early A-Mart route, something would happen once in a while. A few moments later, Captain Chahyeri hurled the Hokari sweat can into the grass in frustration. Ryu Minsak reflected silently. When enough time is shared between life and death, Hieri muttered bitterly, "Get a grip, Chahyeri. What did you expect from a monster like him?" Minsak's thoughts deepened. Hieri finds herself drawn to me. Before it grows any deeper, I must nip it in the bud. That's the only way to keep her safe. Colonel Cha Dong-ho cautioned, "Be careful, Ryu Minsak. Don't just push her away coldly. Think rationally. In a world like this, do you really believe Daejeon will be untouched? Wouldn't it be better if you and I built this brigade into the strongest shelter?" Minsak considered it. "It's a good offer. With me and the colonel as we are now, nothing's impossible. But there's no time. In my past life, the time it took for sliders to appear, 10 years, but this time, it's only 10 days. If other elite creature zombies appear this fast, this place will collapse before it can be fortified." "I've made my decision," Ryu Minsak declared. And that night, the ground split open. A zombie sprouted forth, growing larger and larger. Others followed, emerging from the earth with guttural growls. Kya-la-la-la-la. Ryu Minsak climbed into his road roller, the engine roaring as he drove it straight toward the horde. The massive machine crushed the undead as he advanced. The zombie boss suddenly leapt into the air, screeching Kiara-ra-ra-ra. Earlier that day, Ryu Minsak had told Colonel Cha Dong-ho, "I've decided. Tonight my daughter and I are going to Daejeon." "Hey, Ryu Minsak," the colonel had shouted. But Minsak had cut him off. "In exchange, I'll make a proposal to you, Colonel." Now, as the horde swarmed, tanks and a jeep and an armored personnel carrier followed behind the road roller. The tanks fired in unison, blasting the zombies into pieces. Boom, 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 Ryu Minsak thought to himself. "Colonel, aren't you curious too? The most perfect shelter, your dream after all." Colonel Cha Dong-ho climbed out of a tank, flexing as he gave Minsak a muscular thumbs up. Minsak glanced back at him, then at his daughter, Ryu Dami. Dami gave her father a thumbs up as well. Minsak nodded and thought, "Let's confirm it together with our own eyes." Facing forward, his eyes sharpened as he drove the road roller toward the horde. Whether the Daejeon shelter survives or falls, he muttered. And so began the Daejeon expedition, departure. At night, in the north end of the Miho River, a huge monster appeared in the water. It growled in a grotesque rhythm, repeating, a bolt of lightning struck the zombie monster. A soldier muttered, "Man, look at the size of this thing." Colonel Cha Dong-ho said, "It looks really heavy." Ryu Min-sok explained, "Vicious. It is a high-level creature zombie that takes the form of a slug. Its characteristic is poison. It seeps out from its entire body, not just certain parts. Even brushing against it is deadly." Colonel Cha Dong-ho asked, "Then what do we do? That is the only bridge left to reach Daejeon. We cannot delay too long." Ryu Min-sok replied, "It is nocturnal. When exposed to ultraviolet rays, the poison secreted from its skin hardens and its agility drops significantly. At that time, if we cut the protruding part in the center of its head, we can kill it." Colonel Cha Dong-ho said, 2 hours until sunrise. The rain needs to stop before then. Any other biological reactions around?" A drone operator answered, "None besides that creature." Colonel Cha Dong-ho nodded. "Good. We rest here. You all maintain the armor first." The soldiers replied, "Yes, sir." A few moments later, one soldier muttered, "Suspicious. No matter how I look at it, it is suspicious." His friend asked, "What is?" He said, "What do you mean, what?" Look at Ryu Min-sok and Colonel Cha Dong-ho smiling at each other. Ryu Min-sok, how does he know so much about zombies? The drone operator replied, "Miracle Man. Well, he is an expert." The soldier scowled. "No, expert or not, did he experience the zombie outbreak before us? Miracle my donkey. And the brigade commander, too. We do not have many shells left, yet he just trusts that guy and uses them up. Does that make sense?" He pointed at his head and whispered, "The brigade commander is getting old. His mind seems to be slipping back and forth." Colonel Cha Dong-ho silently approached from behind. The soldier quickly changed the subject, saying, "But thinking that way is disrespectful to the brigade commander we respect, don't you think?" Suddenly he screamed in agony, "Kya!" As Colonel Cha Dong-ho twisted his head in torture, Ryudami stepped out of the vehicle, stretching her arms and hips seductively. "Whoa," she exclaimed. She grabbed her soft, large backside and groaned, "Ow, my butt! It hurts so much from crouching all the time." Ryu Min-sok appeared behind her and called, "Dami." Startled, Ryudami dropped her umbrella and yelped, "Eek!" Ryu Min-sok panicked. Dami, what is wrong?" she pouted. "Geez, what? Suddenly appearing from behind like that?" Ryu Min-sok, sweating in the rain, asked, "Are you okay?" She replied, "No, I was worried you might be hungry." Picking up her umbrella, she added, "Do not appear so suddenly like that." Ryu Min-sok blinked in confusion. "Huh?" Ryudami lowered her voice. "I am still getting used to Daddy's face." She stared at him. Ryu Min-sok stammered, "So sorry, Dami, I do not look like Daddy?" Ryudami turned away suddenly. "Huh?" He fumbled, I mean, Daddy has changed a lot from before. Daddy does not seem like Daddy. It is hard to see you as Daddy. But I am grateful to Daddy." "Ryu Min-sok, what are you saying right now? You are rambling. This is not what I wanted to ask." Ryudami looked at him with confusion. Ryu Min-sok thought to himself, "There is a question that has always circled in my heart, but I could never bring myself to ask. I was afraid of Dami's answer. Why? Why did she accept me as her daddy when I became a monster?" Ryudami pointed at his eyes. "Your eyes," she said softly. "Your eyes are the same." Ryu Min-sok frowned. "Eyes? These red eyes? Did my eyes get bloodshot easily before?" Ryudami shook her head. "No, not that. When I was 7, the day we sent Mom away, ever since that day until now, Daddy always had those eyes. Eyes that looked at me like I was the most pitiful person in the world. Eyes that always seemed sorry to death. Every time I saw Daddy like that, honestly, I was really annoyed, because the most pitiful person in the world was Daddy. 2 weeks ago, that day when the front door opened and someone covered in blood came in, I saw those eyes again. The only person in the world who looks at me with such warm eyes is Daddy." The next day, Viscous suddenly emerged from the river. Colonel Cha Dong-ho shouted, "Fire!" The tanks roared, shells striking the neck of Viscous. The monster shrieked in agony. "Unjeo, unjeo, unjeo, unjeo fo ook, unjeo fo ook." Ryu Min-sok leapt toward Viscous, both axes gripped tightly in his hands. Soaring high above its massive head, he clenched his teeth, raised his weapons, and with a roar, brought them down. The blade split into the monster's body, cutting Viscous clean in half. The tank operator gasped. This cannot be possible." Colonel Cha Dong-ho gripped the soldier's head firmly and said, I understand doubting Min-sok too, but Jae-han, does this look like a matter of choice to you? Viscus's colossal body collapsed into the river with a thunderous splash, sending waves crashing against the banks. Colonel Cha Dong-ho's voice hardened. In this hell, all we can do is trust that guy. There is no other choice. Ryu Min-sak stood silently, rain dripping from his blood-stained face. He thought to himself, 99th previous life, time it took to reach Daejeon, 378 days. And in the 100th previous life, only 14 days after the zombie outbreak, I finally reached. Ryudami froze, eyes wide in shock. Colonel Cha Dong-ho and the others also stared at him in disbelief. Ryu Min-sak's gaze darkened as he whispered to himself, the Daejeon I so desperately hoped for. Going back in time, 11 days ago, day 3 of the outbreak, Doryongdong, Daejeon. This is Alpha, the soldier reported as he planted his boot on a zombie skull. Enemy entity annihilation complete. It was 10:47 in the morning in Daejeon's Yusong district. Defense successful, the radio confirmed. In the command center, sir, it is a success. We have held the Daejeon defense line, one officer called. Commander Quack frowned. Is that really true? Jeryong Base Joint Command fed back their assessment. Most forces sent to other metropolitan areas had been wiped out or had lost contact. The only area still holding was Daejeon. V1, any contact? Quack asked. Well, after the defend transmission an hour ago, there has been no further contact, came the reply. Quack slammed his fist on the table. He closed his eyes, sweat beading on his brow. The speed at which the zombies are increasing is far too fast and widespread. How are we supposed to respond to this unprecedented danger? He watched the monitors flash. Danger, success, danger, danger. Is the Republic of Korea finished like this? He muttered. Then quieter, as if trying to force belief into being, however, in just 3 days, not just survival but success. Successful defense, as expected. Is it the Blue Eagle unit? Alpha answered, this is Alpha. Request approval to expand operation area to the Dunsan region. Please approve. Approved. Make sure to complete the mission, Alpha, Quack said into his radio. Confirmed. I am counting on you, Ji-woo. You are all we have left. If you can protect Daejeon to the end, we can mount a counterattack. Outside, a zombie on a rooftop flexed to grotesque, impossible strength and opened its eyes. In the present, Colonel Cha Dong-ho studied the city with a frown. Min-suk, what is going on here? The Daejeon you described is very different from what I expected. He wiped his brow. It is much better than I thought. Now I understand why you sang Daejeon's praises. This is completely beyond expectation. Jae-han breathed. To think there is still such an intact city. Wow. It is overwhelming, one soldier said. Ryudami watched Ryu Min-suk closely, nodding. It is real. Just like Daddy said, Daejeon is fine. Daddy? A child voice echoed, and Min-seok's jaw tightened. Something in his chest tightened into a cold knot. This was wrong. After the outbreak, cities across the country had fallen. Daejeon had fallen with them. When he first arrived, only 3 districts were defended. Now many more districts had been fortified, and all in just 14 days. An inexplicable anxiety washed over him. Instincts honed through 100 previous lives whispered, something is there. Listen carefully, Ryudami, Min-sik ordered. Huh? She answered, puzzled. From now on, do not leave Daddy's side. Got it? Why are you being scary, Daddy? She asked, half amused, half afraid. Colonel Shah straightened. We do not have much time. Get ready quickly. If we are late returning, G's will be angry. Let us go. Sergeant Lee and he raised a hand. Brigade Commander, just a moment. I have something to report. Is there a problem? Cha asked. Earlier, on the way from Sejong, there was a large plane. I saw huge lines there, as if someone had drawn them, Lee said. Lines? Cha repeated, puzzled. The scale was so large it would be hard to see with the naked eye. I launched a drone. This came back. He handed Cha a tablet. Cha stared. What is this? A big picture. Why is it drawn here? Ryu Min-suk took the tablet with shaking hands. Ryudami cried, Daddy! Min-sik whispered, This is... At the same time, at the Doryongdong Expo Tower, a blindfolded soldier transmitted a different report, reporting 10 survivors confirmed near Suyang Mountain. Search teams are moving. Escort them with utmost care. A lone man stood in the distance and added, Only then will she be satisfied. Min-suk stared down at the strange drawing, and a slow, uncanny smile ghosted across his lips as the image seemed to watch back. I did not know then the reason for the anxiety that had seeped into me, the enormous wave I would first encounter in this Daejeon I so desperately longed for. A voice echoed throughout the entire place, saying, a flickering flame in the wind. Just 2 weeks ago, we had been like candles before the storm. We lost our beloved families and friends. All hope, all joy was snuffed out. As the people sweated in shock, the voice continued. Then, before us, his name was Baek-do Hyun. Baek-do Hyun leapt from the top of a building. When he landed upon the stage, the crowd erupted in cheers. Wow, he's here. The one has arrived. It's Baek-do Hyun. Standing tall with his head held high, he revealed himself. Baek-do Hyun, mayor of Daejeon. He spoke with a clear, commanding voice. We now face a crisis unlike anything we have ever known. This is not just our crisis. It is a crisis for all of humanity. And yet, raising his fist, he shouted, we have survived. The crowd cheered wildly. Baek-do Hyun continued, beloved citizens of Daejeon, do you truly believe our survival is mere chance? No, we are the last flame of this land, the hope that will blaze again. Tears filled the eyes of the people as they cried out, woo, Lord Baek-do Hyun, because of you, we can live. They began to chant, Baek-do Hyun, Baek-do Hyun, Baek-do Hyun. Baek-do Hyun raised his hand and declared, I vow this final flame, I will never let it be extinguished. I, Baek-do Hyun, will be the fuel that protects this radiant city to the very end. The crowd roared again, Baek-do Hyun, Baek-do Hyun, Baek-do Hyun. In the distance, Ryu Min-seok, Ryu Dami, and Colonel Cha Dong-ho stood among their soldiers, watching in disbelief. Colonel Cha Dong-ho, both shocked and confused, muttered, Ryu Min-seok, is this Daejeon you spoke of? Ryu Min-seok shook his head. No, this is the first time I've seen a spectacle like this, or a man like him. He thought to himself, in my past lives, even the Blue Hawk unit stood at the heart of Daejeon's revival. But here, they've been reduced to mere lackeys, and more than that, he's not here. The Blue Hawk unit's leader, the hero Shin Ji-woo. Where is he? What kind of variable warped this Daejeon? Baek-do Hyun. Just who is this man? Baek-do Hyun smiled broadly and spoke again. Citizens, today there is something to celebrate. Our goddess has sent new comrades to this city. Please welcome them with a roaring cheer. Before he could finish, a smoke grenade landed at his feet and exploded, filling the air with thick smoke. Cough! Cough! Ryu Min-seok and Ryu Dami sputtered. Colonel Cha Dong-ho shouted, cover your mouths and get down! Ryu Min-seok, Dami, are you all right? Yeah, she answered. Ryu Min-seok thought, this is a smoke grenade? Who the hell? Through the haze, he saw a shadow move. His eyes widened. Baek-do Hyun, coughing on the ground, wiped the sweat from his brow, and suddenly, Alpha Shin Ji-woo appeared behind him, pressing a pistol against the back of his head. The trigger was pulled. The deafening gunshot echoed across the plaza. The crowd screamed, Kya! Lord Baek-do Hyun's head! His head! He's been shot! Baek-do Hyun collapsed. A soldier immediately tackled Alpha Shin Ji-woo to the ground, shouting, you crazy fool! What the hell are you doing? The soldier froze mid-grapple, recognizing the man beneath him. Shin Ji-woo? Ryu Min-seok's eyes widened. What? That man is Shin Ji-woo? Pinned down, Alpha Shin Ji-woo shouted, citizens, it's over. Come to your senses. Don't you see? We've been deceived by Baek-do Hyun all along. Please, open your eyes. But before anyone could react, Baek-do Hyun, his face bloody and twisted, rose from the dead. The crowd gasped in horror. He's getting up. A woman screamed, Lord Baek-do Hyun, he's alive again. Still restrained, Alpha Shin Ji-woo stared in disbelief. Baek-do Hyun, this monster. Baek-do Hyun smirked. Today is truly a blessed day. For today, that vile demon tried to kill me, Baek-do Hyun. As Shin Ji-woo struggled against the soldier holding him, muffled by a gag, Baek-do Hyun raised his fist and declared, and at last, the demon Shin Ji-woo will be executed. The crowd roared. A heavyset man shouted, Shin Ji-woo, you filthy demonic fiend, did you really think our Lord Baek-do Hyun could be defeated by the likes of you? The people cried, execute divine judgment upon that demon. Judgment, judgment, judgment. Baek-do Hyun lifted his hand, and silence fell once again. Beloved citizens of Daejeon, he said solemnly, thank you. The reason I could rise again before death itself was because you were with me. You truly are the citizens of the miracle city. Warmth spread through the hearts of the crowd. A woman exclaimed tearfully, "The goddess of Yeryong has descended into our hearts, rekindling the dying flame, bringing it back to life." Baek Do-hyun raised his voice. "And so this shining history, I proclaim to all mankind the final flame, the undying light." The people shouted together, "Ah, Daejeon!" Colonel Cha Dong-ho and Ryu Dami stood frozen in disbelief, while Alpha Shin Ji-woo looked around at the maddened, cheering crowd. Baek Do-hyun extended his arms, roaring, "AAA, the miracle city." Ryu Min-sok stared in horror, revealing the truth. As Ryu Min-sok looked back toward Baek Do-hyun, realization struck him. Baek Do-hyun, he's just like me, the same as me. At the Expo Tower building, Jahan said quietly, "We have to move." They sat inside a dimly lit room. "Colonel," Jahan continued, "let's head back to the brigade now. Something's seriously off here." Sergeant Lee and he nodded. "I agree." Jahan sighed. "I'll admit, the infrastructure here is impressive, but honestly, let's just leave these people. They're not right in the head. And that mayor," Sergeant Lee muttered, "Yeah, Baek Do-hyun. That lunatic in the white suit and blindfold." Jahan groaned. "He's the strangest one of all. That so-called show where his head exploded, I almost threw up watching it." Colonel Cha Dong-ho frowned. Show?" "Yeah," Jahan replied, growing agitated. "It was all staged. He was working with that black-haired guy who stormed the stage." Sergeant Lee blinked. "You serious?" Jahan nodded firmly. "I saw it with my own eyes. When that guy had the gun pointed at his head, Baek Do-hyun was smiling. It was all fake, manipulation and provocation, classic con artist tactics. I heard there's some execution ceremony tomorrow. I don't know what kind of performance they're planning, but I'm telling you, it's best we don't get tangled in this." Sergeant Lee crossed her arms. "Jahan's right. If we stay here any longer, things are going to spiral fast." Colonel Cha Dong-ho stood up and said, "Everyone out. Only Ryu Min-sok stays. The rest of you, dismissed." Sergeant Lee hesitated. "Colonel?" He gave her a firm nod. She and Jahan saluted before leaving the room. Ryu Dami, standing near the door, was sweating nervously. Ryu Min-sok glanced at her silently and gave a subtle nod. A few moments later, the room was quiet. Only Colonel Cha Dong-ho and Ryu Min-sok remained. The colonel spoke first. "Speak." He narrowed his eyes. "Baek Do-hyun, is he one of those monsters like you?" Ryu Min-sok exhaled slowly. "I knew you sensed it too, Colonel." Cha Dong-ho's gaze hardened. "I can tell what's what just by looking. That bastard, like you, doesn't feel human. You knew this before coming here, didn't you? Were you planning to join forces with Baek Do-hyun and trick us?" Ryu Min-sok shook his head. "Not at all. Turning against you would put Dami at risk too. Baek Do-hyun is just as unpredictable for me as he is for you." The colonel studied him, then sighed. "All right, I get it." He stood up. "Then it's decided. We're heading back to the brigade. I trust the strength of the unit I built. But if I stay away any longer, I'll admit I'm getting uneasy. Daejeon's facilities are tempting, sure. My dream has always been for humanity, for Korea to rise again. This city, more than anywhere, has the potential to become the forward base of reconstruction. But as long as Daejeon's gripped by this madness, it's impossible. Like the men said, getting involved here is nothing but trouble. Let's head back." Ryu Min-sok nodded. "Yes, sir, I agree." The next morning, 2 guards stood in front of Baek Do-hyun's grand building. One of them frowned. "What is it?" Ryu Min-sok stood silently at a distance before approaching. "Hello, I'm Ryu Min-sok. I came to see the mayor." The guard recognized him. "Ah, one of the new arrivals from yesterday, right?" But something about his tone felt off. His companion said, "I'm sorry, but please return to your assigned lodging. Mayor Baek Do-hyun doesn't meet citizens personally." Ryu Min-sok took a step closer. "Then could you at least deliver this message?" The soldiers exchanged uneasy looks. Ryu Min-sok added calmly, "Tell him, I'm sure he'll want to see me." In Baek Do-hyun's office, Ryu Min-sok sat across the table from Baek Do-hyun. Baek leaned back, expression unreadable. "Very well, Citizen Ryu Min-sok. What is it you wish to say?" Ryu Min-sok smiled faintly. "You've already heard, haven't you? That's why you brought me up here." Baek Do-hyun's smirk deepened. That night, Ryu Minsok spoke to Colonel Cha Dong-ho. I agree. As long as he lets us leave freely. This whole place is basically a giant cult, which means they'll be desperate to stop us from leaving. I know how violent cults can get when cornered. If that happens, someone's going to get hurt, or worse. And if Baek Do-hyun really is like me. Baek Do-hyun interrupted. That's exactly it, Citizen Ryu Minsok. Ryu Minsok thought to himself, then he must have also. Baek's eyes glinted. Say it again. Felt that same unease from me, Ryu Minsok realized. Colonel Cha Dong-ho's voice echoed through his memory. Let's go! Come on, move it! Just tell us already, what's the plan? Ryu Minsok had answered firmly. Tomorrow morning, I'll go to Baek Do-hyun myself and reveal who I am. What? That's your plan? The colonel shouted. Ryu Minsok smiled faintly. However, sweat ran down the colonel's face as Ryu Minsok flexed his arm. I'll be introducing myself a little differently. As someone he can't afford to provoke, he thought. Now, in the present moment, Ryu Minsok spoke calmly. I'm like you. A being that can't coexist with him in this daejeon. The same as you, he said aloud. One chosen by the goddess. A presence that disrupts the balance. Baek Do-hyun's expression darkened. So you're saying, you're the same as me, an agent? Ryu Minsok sat silently, then opened his glowing red eyes. That's right. Baek Do-hyun scratched his head and let out a laugh. Ha. He grinned, then suddenly slammed Ryu Minsok's face into the floor. How laughable, Baek Do-hyun sneered. A wretch like you dares to compare himself to me? Then show me. Prove you were truly chosen by the goddess, or whether you're just a silver-tongued demon. The day before, the ceremony. Baek Do-hyun had muttered to himself, What's that smell? This foul, nauseating stench. I've never smelled anything like it. Where the hell is it coming from? He turned and saw a figure standing in the distance. Slowly, Baek Do-hyun's eyes narrowed as he stared at the approaching shadow. Baek Do-hyun walked toward the figure. The day before, the ceremony. Baek Do-hyun had muttered to himself, What's that smell? This foul, nauseating stench. I've never smelled anything like it. Where the hell is it coming from? He turned and saw a figure standing in the distance. Slowly, Baek Do-hyun's eyes narrowed as he stared at the approaching shadow. Baek Do-hyun walked toward the figure and said, You, what's your name? The figure replied, Yes, I am, Ryu Minsok. In the present, Baek Do-hyun pinned Ryu Minsok to the ground. Baek Do-hyun said, That revolting stench clinging to you since yesterday. It is unbearable now. I already found it suspicious enough that I planned to summon you all today. But for you to show up here yourself, and say what? That you are the same as me, Baek Do-hyun? Then prove it. Show me whether you were truly chosen by the goddess, or just another demon bastard with a silver tongue. Suddenly, Baek Do-hyun stopped and leaped away from Ryu Minsok. He looked at his broken fingers as Ryu Minsok stood silently at a distance, gazing at him with killing intent. Baek Do-hyun gritted his teeth in anger, flexed his fingers back into form, and charged toward Ryu Minsok. Their attacks collided, creating a massive blast. Kim Sang-chung, the deputy mayor of Daejeon, suddenly ran toward Baek Do-hyun's office, shouting, What? What's that noise? A guard stammered, Well, we're hearing sounds from the office, but the mayor is not answering when we call out. Kim Sang-chung snapped, What? Then break down the door, you idiot. Will you take responsibility if something happens to him? The guard, sweating, replied, But the mayor gave strict orders not to enter. He said he had something important to discuss with citizen Ryu Minsok. Kim Sang-chung frowned in confusion and said, Ryu Minsok? Who's that? Inside, Ryu Minsok and Baek Do-hyun fought fiercely from left to right, their devastating blows shaking the room. They struck each other and were flung apart. Baek Do-hyun slid backward, then stood up. Baek Do-hyun said, Ryu Minsok, seeing you like this, I'll admit it. You are not like Shin Ji-woo, all talk and no substance. Ryu Minsok glared at him, his aura raging. Baek Do-hyun continued, But still, you and I the same? That I cannot accept. Ryu Minsok was confused. He looked closer at Baek Do-hyun as the latter's energy emitted a dark, monstrous aura. Baek Do-hyun said, Then I'll show you. He began unbuttoning his coat. Just how overwhelming the blessing the goddess granted me truly is. As Baek Do-hyun took off his coat, Kim Sang-chung suddenly knocked on the door and entered, exclaiming, Mayor! Baek Do-hyun turned and said, Deputy Mayor, what brings you here? Kim Sang-chung asked, Mayor, are you all right? What happened to your clothes in this office? Baek Do-hyun replied calmly, Our discussion got a bit heated. I apologize for worrying you, Deputy Mayor. Kim Sang-chung shook his head. Apologize? Not at all, sir. I am just relieved you are safe, Mayor. Baek Do-hyun said, By the way, Deputy Mayor. Yes? Kim Sang-chung replied. Baek Do-hyun's expression hardened. You still have not answered my question. What brings you here? Kim Sang-chung froze in confusion, staring at him. Baek Do-hyun said coldly, I, Baek Do-hyun, am certain I told everyone to stay out. Why? He flexed his neck and jaw muscles in anger. Kim Sang-chung trembled and cried, No, it is just... There was a loud crash. I was concerned. Baek Do-hyun noticed Ryu Min-seok moving and said, What are you implying right now? Ryu Min-seok knelt on one leg and said, Seems there's been a misunderstanding. When I said I was like you, I did not mean we were equals. I, Ryu Min-seok, as a brother blessed by the same goddess, will follow you, Baek Do-hyun. Ryu Min-seok smiled. That night, Colonel Cha Dong-ho said to Ryu Min-seok, Win his favor. Are you saying you want to win Baek Do-hyun's favor? What, are you planning to kneel like you did before me? Ryu Min-seok replied, If that is what it takes, yes. People in power tend to like that pose. Colonel Cha Dong-ho blushed in shock. Are you saying that for my... I need Baek Do-hyun's favor if I want to leave Daejeon without chaos. A possible threat pledging loyalty, that is an offer too tempting to ignore. He will take it. In the present, Baek Do-hyun leaned closer to Ryu Min-seok's face and said, You are lying. First, you win my favor to gain trust, then you secure protection for yourself and your people, and finally you stab me in the back. You really think I, Baek Do-hyun, would fall for a cheap ploy like that? Ryu Min-seok looked away, then met Baek Do-hyun's eyes. So what if I am? He said. Baek Do-hyun blinked, confused. What? Ryu Min-seok said, Even if that is true, it would not change a thing, would it, Mayor? Because even if I tried to betray you, I would fail. You already distrust me. You are stronger than I am. The only thing I care about is keeping my companions safe. I would never do anything to endanger them. So tell me, does that still sound like a lie? Baek Do-hyun smiled faintly. The sole prophet. How irritating. The more you talk, the more I start to like you. Very well. I, Baek Do-hyun, accept you, Citizen Ryu Min-seok. Your companions will be safe, and I will even give you a special position to assist me. Kim Sang-chung, standing nearby, was confused. He felt something missing in his chest. Baek Do-hyun continued. As it happens, the deputy mayor's seat just opened up. However, there is one condition. You will have to pass a test I assign. Ryu Min-seok remembered Colonel Cha Dong-ho's warning. Be careful, Ryu Min-seok. If he is really a cult leader like you said, his ways will be darker than anyone's. Baek Do-hyun smiled and said, So what do you say, Citizen Ryu Min-seok? Will you accept my test? A boy in the crowd shouted, Execute! A lady and a fat man shouted, Execute! Execute! The others chanted, Execute! Execute! As people gathered and shouted, Execute! Execute him! Execute him! Destroy the demon, Shinji-woo. Shinji-woo was tied to a pole. A servant leaned in and asked Colonel Cha Dong-ho, Would you like some wine? Colonel Cha Dong-ho said, No, I am fine. Ryudami cried, Colonel, please, just tell me. After everything we have been through, where is my father? I keep asking, but no one answers me. Something has happened, has it not? What is going on? Colonel Cha Dong-ho said, Men. Sergeant Lee In-hee answered, Yes, sir. Colonel Cha Dong-ho ordered, Take Min-seok's daughter and head back. Colonel Cha Dong-ho's men suddenly grabbed Ryudami's soft arms. Ryudami screamed, Why will you not tell me anything? Sergeant Lee In-hee said, Dami, calm down. Ryudami shouted, Something has happened to my father, has it not? Colonel. Colonel Cha Dong-ho closed his eyes in frustration and muttered, Darn it. Suddenly Mr. Baek Do-hyun pointed at the sky and declared, My dear citizens of Daejeon, we will now begin the execution ceremony. Execute him. Destroy the demon Shinji-woo. But before that, I must share some unfortunate news. As drops of his tears fell, Mr. Baek Do-hyun continued, that vile demon Shinji Woo tried to escape this morning, and in the process, he murdered our deputy mayor, Kim Sang-chung. A lady cried, "What? The deputy mayor?" An ugly man spat, "That cursed monster." Another ugly man wailed, "Oh no, Baek Do-hyun is crying. Please do not cry, Baek Do-hyun." Mr. Baek Do-hyun said, "Until this morning, my heart was heavy with regret for failing to protect our deputy mayor, but I am no longer sad, because the goddess in her divine wisdom has sent us a new candidate to take his place, the one who will punish this wretched demon alongside me today." Mr. Baek Do-hyun silently flexed his arm, then shouted and pointed into the distance, "His name is Ryu," the crowd cried. "Min," the crowd answered. "Seok," the crowd roared. Ryu Min Seok stood silently holding a torch. A few hours earlier, Mr. Baek Do-hyun had said, "The execution ceremony, the ritual to burn Shinji Woo alive, will take place tonight at 11 o'clock in the evening. Normally this honor would be mine, but this time I shall grant it to you. Shinji Woo, you will be the one to execute him. To slay a demon, that is the destiny of one chosen by the goddess. If you accept that destiny, I shall accept you as well." The crowd cheered for the death of Kim Sang-chung and for the appointment of the new deputy mayor, Ryu Min Seok. Colonel Cha Dong-ho sweat in shock. Earlier that day, Colonel Cha Dong-ho had said, "What? At the execution ceremony tonight, you have to kill a man? That is it. I have heard enough. We are leaving. Now." Ryu Min Seok suddenly stopped him from walking. "We cannot do that," Ryu Min Seok said. "Ryu Min Seok," Colonel Cha Dong-ho shouted. Ryu Min Seok said, "As long as Baek Do-hyun holds power in Daejeon, that choice is far too dangerous. Coming here, getting dragged into this mess, it is all my fault. For us, no, for Dami, I could not care less about humanity. I would throw it all away in a heartbeat." Ryu Min Seok set down his torch. The flames crawled toward Shinji Woo and rapidly ate the wood beneath her. As the flames spread, Shinji Woo screamed in pain. "Wah!" The ugly man shouted, "Oh, he is being burned." His ugly friend said, "We did it." A lady cried, "We finally did it. We killed the demon Shinji Woo." The pole suddenly broke, and Shinji Woo fell into the flames, crying, "Ooh!" Ryu Min Seok watched silently, holding the torch. Mr. Baek Do-hyun leapt forward and gripped Ryu Min Seok's head. He proclaimed, "In the name of the goddesses chosen, I declare, Ryu Min Seok, from this moment forth, you shall serve as Baek Do-hyun's hands and feet. Do you accept?" Ryu Min Seok was silent. Then he smiled and said, "I do." Mr. Baek Do-hyun shouted, "Citizens, raise your voices for our new deputy mayor, Ryu Min Seok." The crowd chanted, "Hurrah! Ryu Min Seok, Ryu Min Seok, Ryu Min Seok." A few moments later at the hotel, a soldier said, "Then, have a pleasant evening. Deputy Mayor Ryu Min Seok." They walked away. Ryu Min Seok closed the door, then slowly looked back. Colonel Cha Dong-ho and his company stared silently at Ryu Min Seok. Ryu Min Seok removed his blindfold. Shinji Woo said, "A pleasure to meet you, commander of the Blue Hawk Unit, under the Jeryong Joint Command." Shinji Woo, Colonel Cha Dong-ho and the others murmured in shock, sweating, and said, "Ryu Min Seok, you must be insane after all." Earlier that day, Ryu Min Seok had said, "For Dami, I could throw humanity away without hesitation. But not this time." Colonel Cha Dong-ho, confused, asked, "What?" Ryu Min Seok said, "There is no time, so listen carefully. Tonight, I will earn Baek Do-hyun's trust. And at the same time, I will swap out Shinji Woo to save him." Outside, the fire still burned. Ryu Min Seok stepped out of the flames and murmured to himself, in a way no one else could ever manage. As the counterattack began, the next day the men started to set up the stage. Mr. Baek Do-hyun supervised them and said, "Welcome, Deputy Mayor." When Ryu Min Seok arrived, he replied, "I apologize, Mr. Baek Do-hyun. I was slightly delayed." Mr. Baek Do-hyun held his chin and said, "I understand. You probably have not had any proper rest after pulling off something like that. Even for me, last night's events are still vivid. Watching you carry out judgment on that demon without a flicker of hesitation, it was exhilarating. Still, next time, be on time, will you not? I do not particularly like dogs that disobey their master. You understand what I mean, right? Ryumin Seok answered, yes. Mr. Baek Do-hyun continued, we still have time before the ceremony. Let us have some tea in the meantime. Our deputy mayor's inauguration ceremony is going to be a magnificent event. Oh, and Shin Ji-woo. She burned cleanly, though I heard there was one thing left. Probably her right arm? Shin Ji-woo said, I thought I was ready for it, but it is still hard to get used to. Mr. Ryu-min Sak. Ryu-min Sok said, sorry I am late. Avoiding eyes on the way here was not easy. Shin Ji-woo said, it is all right. If it were not for you, I would already be dead. Ryu-min Sok shrugged. There is still ash in my hat. For a plan made in a hurry, it worked really well. Shin Ji-woo smiled faintly. Not as well as yours, of course. To be honest, it was torture, having Mr. Baek Do-hyun right in front of me and having to suppress my rage. But this time I realized something for certain. I cannot kill Mr. Baek Do-hyun. And I realized something else too. Ryu-min Sok, you can. Get rid of him? Ryu-min Seok asked. Why me? Now that I am deputy mayor, I have no reason to. Do not misunderstand. I saved you simply because I could. If there had been no way to save you, I would have killed you without hesitation. Shin Ji-woo added, but, Mr. Ryu-min Seok, I am curious. Why are you so intent on killing Mr. Baek Do-hyun? Yes, he is cruel and merciless, but it is also true that he protected Daejeon, is it not? Mr. Shin Ji-woo, do you think you are any different from him? Ryu-min Seok asked. Shin Ji-woo slammed the coffee cup down and said, do you even know what he is doing in this city right now? Tell me, during your time here, have you seen a single citizen walking freely in the street? Voices around them murmured, the last flame, the hope that never dies. Oh, Daejeon. Oh, Miracle City. Shin Ji-woo said, no matter what Mr. Baek Do-hyun has done, the citizens are trapped inside their homes, frozen stiff, waiting like puppets for his next rally to begin. Ryu-min Sok breathed, closed his eyes, and admitted, fine, I admit it. He protected this city with power that defies belief. I even thought that maybe he really could restore Korea itself. Colonel Cha Dong-ho sneezed and tried to listen as Ryu-min Sok and Shin Ji-woo spoke. Shin Ji-woo continued, I fought beside Mr. Baek Do-hyun defending Daejeon, but something always felt off. The defense zone kept expanding, yet there were barely any survivors found. Then one day, while scouting near Maebong-san, my squad and I discovered an abandoned warehouse. Inside we found the truth. They watched as Mr. Baek Do-hyun stopped and, for a moment, was seen eating a girl. He looked up and said, you saw it too? Shin Ji-woo whispered, Mr. Baek Do-hyun, and then shouted, Mr. Baek Do-hyun. Suddenly, Mr. Baek Do-hyun rampaged and grabbed the heads of the other soldiers. Shin Ji-woo pointed and begged, please, Mr. Ryu-min Sak, you are the only one who can restore this. Ryu-min Seok replied, now that you have said that, I am going to pretend I did not hear it. Shin Ji-woo pleaded, Mr. Ryu-min Seok. Ryu-min Seok said quietly, the moment you defy Mr. Baek Do-hyun inside this city, I cannot guarantee my daughter's safety. I am no hero. I am just a father trying to survive with his child. Ryu-min Seok froze, and then saw Ryu-dami. Father, Ryu-dami said. Ryu-min Seok asked, Dami, how long have you been there? Ryu-dami answered, here, your toiletries. You can use them when you wash up. Dami, about what I just said. Ryu-min Seok began. What? Ryu-dami replied, confused. Huh? Ryu-min Seok murmured. Ryu-dami shrugged. I did not hear anything. Anyway, I will get going. All right. Sleep well, Dami, Ryu-min Seok stammered. Shin Ji-woo asked, Mr. Ryu-min Seok, do you really believe Mr. Baek Do-hyun has nothing to do with you? In the present, Ryu-min Seok smiled as Mr. Baek Do-hyun walked away and heard Shin Ji-woo's voice in his memory. This is Alpha, Daejeon Expedition Team. Escape from Daejeon confirmed. Ryu-min Seok remembered what Shin Ji-woo had said. During Mr. Baek Do-hyun's rallies, every single citizen of Daejeon attends. Did you not notice something strange then? Ryu-min Seok clenched his fist and opened it. Shin Ji-woo said, out of all those people, why is it that there are no young women among them? Ryu-min Seok suddenly leapt at Mr. Baek Do-hyun with extreme speed. In one swift motion, he cut off Mr. Baek Do-hyun's head. Rage burned in his eyes as he stared at the fallen man. A soldier shouted with a cracking voice, "Attention! Salute!" And they all saluted. It was 9:32 in the morning. Excluding Ryu Min-sok, the Daejeon expedition team had escaped safely. Escape successful. Jae-han said, "We got out this easily? Maybe we were frightened for nothing?" Sergeant Lee and he said no. It just became easier. Jae-han, confused, said, "Huh?" Sergeant Lee and he replied, "If movement were truly unrestricted, would those armed gatekeepers be wearing faces like that? They have simply been given an order they dare not disobey." Jae-han said, "Even so, becoming deputy mayor is a bit much, is it not? Unless he has another method. There is lobbying, sneaking out, or other approaches, right?" Sergeant Lee and he sighed. "Read the room." "What?" Jae-han asked. "This path gives us the highest odds," Sergeant Lee and he said. "The odds that Dami survives safely. If his daughter is safe, Ryu Min-sok does not care what happens to himself." At the other car, Colonel Cha Dong-ho said, "Hey, kiddo." Ryo Dami flinched in surprise. Colonel Cha Dong-ho continued, "Why? Worried about your papa staying behind alone? Did Min-sok not say he had a quick errand and that he would be right back? There is no need to worry." Ryo Dami sat quietly, her expression beautiful yet tense. She said softly, "My papa has always lived like a fool, just taking every blow. It was never his fault, yet he always apologized first. Honestly, I hated that so much. But when I was in middle school, a boy threw a stone at her. Kya! She cried in pain. There was a time my papa changed, like he was someone else. In my entire life, I had never seen him that angry. Ryu Min-sok had pummeled the boy with his bare hands, relentless in fury. And last night, I saw it again for the first time since then." Ryo Dami remembered that night, still in her sleeping attire, watching her father with trembling eyes. "That look. From when I was in middle school, I will stop asking what is going to happen next. So please, tell me just one thing." Her voice shook. "My papa, he can make it back safely, right?" Colonel Cha Dong-ho suddenly tapped the top of her head, startling her. "Why would he not?" he said. "When his sweet girl is here worrying about him. You were upset that we kept you in the dark, were you?" "There is one promise I can make for sure. Min-sok will be back in no time." Ryo Dami's eyes filled with tears, and she nodded. Colonel Cha Dong-ho smirked, but suddenly his hand trembled, a cold sweat forming. He thought to himself, "Min-sok, I will never doubt you, but keep your guard up. That one, Baek-do-hyun, will not be easy prey." At that moment, Ryu Min-sok stared in shock at Baek-do-hyun. Baek-do-hyun's headless body lunged toward him. Colonel Cha Dong-ho's thought continued, "Will not be easy prey." Ryu Min-sok was thrown back by the attack, skidding across the ground. Baek-do-hyun spoke, "Why?" His body lifted its severed head, holding it up as he said, "I, Baek-do-hyun, trusted you so completely, so why betray me?" He placed his head back onto his body. Ryu Min-sok stood and said, "You are mistaken." He dashed forward, "Not for a single moment. Was I ever on your side?" Baek-do-hyun blocked the strike and hissed, "How sad. Someone blessed by the goddess reduced to a grubby little demon. How tragic. Have you forgotten? My power overwhelms you. You cannot defeat me." But his arm suddenly twisted like a floppy noodle under Ryu Min-sok's blow. "Huh?" Baek-do-hyun said, confused. Ryu Min-sok followed with another attack. Baek-do-hyun was sent flying, smashing into a wall with such force it left a massive dent. Half his body was torn apart. What is this?" he gasped. Ryu Min-sok charged again. "Fast!" Baek-do-hyun thought. "Wait, I am not recovered yet." He leapt back. "Impossible," he thought as his other arm regenerated. But Ryu Min-sok's punch blasted off his leg. I could have sworn that fellow's strength was only enough to bend my finger. He gritted his teeth. In this short time, how did he become that strong? Ryu Min-sok appeared above him, raising another fist. We cannot solve this by escaping, Ryu Min-sok thought. Baek-do-hyun will hunt us down to the very end. Even Dami, there is only one way. Baek-do-hyun, he said aloud, I will finish you here. He threw another devastating punch. Baek-do-hyun stared at the oncoming fist. Ah, what? Ryu Min-sok was shocked as Baek-do-hyun narrowly evaded. A soldier shouted, Deputy Mayor, you! What do you think you are doing? Another cried, Sir Baek, are you all right? Baek-do-hyun seized both soldiers by their heads. He opened his enormous maw wide. Ryu Min-sok sprinted toward them, but a sudden blow struck his face, sending him flying. He struck the wall hard. Ryu Min-sok managed to hold his ground and looked at Baek-do-hyun. Baek-do-hyun's body suddenly swelled, becoming enormously muscular. Ryu Min-sok said, Unbelievable. Baek Do-hyun replied. I picked up trash and polished it until it shone, and what? You dare say you will finish me? Go on, try. Dark energy surged from Baek Do-hyun. I will show you just how deeply the goddess loves this Baek Do-hyun, he declared, loud and clear. Mayor Baek Do-hyun. Blessing power. Activation. Back in the past, the cultists chanted, Pure Baek, righteous do, virtuous hyun. They said his name meant a person pure, righteous, and walking a virtuous path. Baek Do-hyun declared, Pure white, righteous, virtuous. I am a god. I am the one set apart, the one for whom anything is possible. That is me. Follow, worship. For I, Baek Do-hyun, will save. A few days later, Baek Do-hyun stared outside in disbelief. You? He whispered. Zombies devoured his followers. Some banged on his door. Baek Do-hyun. The believers have lost their minds and are rioting. Is this the doomsday you foretold? If so, please save us. Another follower said anxiously, Why is it so quiet? Did something happen to him? An old man barked, Move! He swung his axe, smashing the door to Baek Do-hyun's room. Eek! Baek Do-hyun squealed, trembling. He even let out a small, frightened spill into his pants. Baek Do-hyun, are you all right? One follower cried, Please, save us. But Baek Do-hyun was stuffing cash from his safe into a bag. Baek Do-hyun? A follower said, What are you doing? Baek Do-hyun bolted, shouting, Out of my way, the cult, a man began. The cult leader Baek Do-hyun skimming funds and attempting to flee. Get him. They seized him at once. Let go. I am Baek Do-hyun. I am God. A few moments later, the cultists set fire to their so-called god. Baek Do-hyun screamed as flames consumed him. One cultist yelled, She is angry. Angry at the atrocities committed by the cult leader Baek Do-hyun, whose heart was stolen by the devil, the goddess of Jeryong is enraged. Gouge out those treacherous eyes. Burn that grimy flesh. Soothe the goddess's fury. It is hot. Baek Do-hyun gasped. It is too hot. Please, save me. Please, someone, anyone, save me. Suddenly the goddess appeared. She smiled down at him gently as he burned. The cultists froze in confusion as the flames abruptly died down. They stared, trembling. The old man began to sweat. Baek Do-hyun rose from the extinguished fire. I, Baek Do-hyun, the one granted distinction, the one beloved, so that anything I do is possible. His eyes burned with furious light. I am the goddess's chosen agent. In the present, Baek Do-hyun stood tall, flexing his monstrous muscles. He leapt toward Ryu Min-sok with incredible speed. Ryu Min-sok twisted aside. Cook? He gasped, startled. Baek Do-hyun reached for him. Half of Ryu Min-sok's face was ripped away in Baek Do-hyun's grasp. Ah, Ryu Min-sok murmured. He regenerated instantly as Baek Do-hyun loomed over him with another attack. Ryu Min-sok jumped aside just as Baek Do-hyun slammed the ground, unleashing a massive shockwave. Baek Do-hyun immediately chased him down. He seized Ryu Min-sok's face and hurled him like a skipping stone. Ryu Min-sok tumbled and bounced across the ground. Baek Do-hyun scoffed, What? Is this seriously all you have? He marched forward. You dare oppose the love bestowed upon me with such pitiful strength. What a disappointment, Ryu Min-sok. Then he halted. His expression shifted. Ah, now I understand. Why the goddess would send a vicious demon like you. Ryu Min-sok pressed his hands to the ground as red energy spread beneath him. To this Baek Do-hyun, Baek Do-hyun cried. Ryu Min-sok lay resting on the ground, gathering strength. Baek Do-hyun declared, as the one entrusted to judge the sin of defiling the goddess's blessing, she trusted none other than this Baek Do-hyun. He charged toward Ryu Min-sok, shouting, O goddess of Jeryong, forgive this ignorant worshipper who only now sees the truth. Even now I shall judge that crafty demon and all who remain, even the children who carry its blood, with suffering so great that they beg to be spared. I shall be their judge. He closed in on Ryu Min-sok. Ryu Min-sok remained on the ground without moving. He looked up at Baek Do-hyun and murmured, Now. Just as Baek Do-hyun was about to strike, the lights blazed open with blinding force. In the distance, Shin Ji-woo held a switch. He was the one who activated the floodlights aimed at Baek Do-hyun. More lights ignited, each even brighter than the last. Baek Do-hyun froze. His eyes burned. He collapsed to the ground. He staggered back up in confusion. Huh? He mumbled. Ryu Min-sok said calmly, Shadow vision. Because of congenital or acquired factors, the optic nerve becomes damaged, causing the eyes to perceive only the outlines of moving objects. Their neural senses sharpen far beyond average, but that makes their visual recovery several times slower. And there is one thing people with this condition must avoid above all: intense light. Baek Do-hyun recoiled, overwhelmed. "Quit that pointless nonsense," he shouted. "Stop talking and come out!" He flailed his fists blindly at the air. At last he dropped, panting from exhaustion. Ryu Min-sok continued. "Strong light and loud noise deliver a direct shock to their brain, sometimes even triggering neural seizures. And if that nervous system has surpassed human limits, the pain will be even worse," Ryu Min-sok thought to himself. Blessing mode. All senses pushed beyond human range. Perhaps that is why every nerve in his body is going wild like a frenzied storm. This fellow, do not tell me he calculated all of this. He calculated all of this, forcing this body to awaken, then letting himself appear overwhelmed by its power, and luring me in here? From the very start until now, this was all his plan. Baek Do-hyun roared with furious pain. "Ryu Min-sok." Ryu Min-sok responded. "You are right. Your power and your speed, they far surpass mine. It is clear you are bathed in great love. But did you know? The power to receive love." His iron knuckles gleamed under the blazing lights, "is nothing compared to the power to protect it." Ryu Min-sok, specification Papa. 3 hours and 27 minutes later, after an unrelenting barrage, Baek Do-hyun's blood coated Ryu Min-sok's fists. Ryu Min-sok continued pounding relentlessly, eyes glowing with red fury. He softened Baek Do-hyun's muscles until the body could no longer resist. "Baek Do-hyun," he whispered to himself. From a distance, Shin Ji-woo watched the beating in silent disbelief. "Beyond recovery," Ryu Min-sok muttered as he dropped his iron knuckles onto the ground. He rose slowly. Shin Ji-woo whispered. Ryu Min-sok eliminated Baek Do-hyun. A few moments later, Shin Ji-woo approached the fallen cult leader. "Baek Do-hyun. I never imagined I would see him collapse like this. You are truly astonishing, Ryu Min-sok." Ryu Min-sok replied. "It is thanks to you, Captain Shin, because you helped me, and more than anything, you are the one who gave me information about Baek Do-hyun." But Shin Ji-woo thought, no, even if his vision were blocked, even if he had a neural seizure, there is no way Baek Do-hyun would fall that easily. The real reason he was defeated is simply that Ryu Min-sok is stronger. He stood beside Ryu Min-sok, gazing down at Baek Do-hyun, pounded flat like a chicken breast. Suddenly, the goddess smiled at Baek Do-hyun. She whispered, "Get up." Baek Do-hyun's body exploded outward in a burst of blood. "Ah," it howled. "Ah," again as chunks scattered. Shin Ji-woo staggered back in shock. A giant monster rose from what remained. It stared at Ryu Min-sok and Shin Ji-woo. Shin Ji-woo whispered, "I cannot believe Baek Do-hyun is still alive. I have never seen him in this form." Ryu Min-sok said, "Tardage, a high-tier variant in the form of a tardigrade." Shin Ji-woo shouted, "Wait, Min-sok, what are you talking about?" Ryu Min-sok answered, "I am certain that thing is a creature." Inside, he thought, "I cannot believe this, that Baek Do-hyun's true nature was an elite creature." "Run," he shouted. "If that really is a tardage, its special trait is..." Shin Ji-woo and Ryu Min-sok sprinted away as fast as they could. Behind them, Baek Do-hyun grew even larger. Outside, the cultists gathered. A soldier asked, "So?" His friend replied, "There is some huge noise going on in there, but going inside is kind of..." He added, "I do not even sense any guards." His friend continued, "You know what happened to the last deputy who acted up like that?" The guard muttered, "It is already 3 hours past the start time." "Nothing like this has ever happened before," his friend whispered. "Something really did not happen this time, right?" The guard snapped, "Hey, get a grip, will you? Do you even know what kind of person Mayor Baek Do-hyun is? He must have had something urgent come up." As the sun shone above the office of Baek Do-hyun, the guard assured himself, "He will show up any minute now." Then the building exploded. The crowd reeled back in shock. A massive worm burst out from the rubble. People gasped and cried out, "The tower! The Expo Tower just collapsed." Johnny Sins exclaimed, What is that huge thing?" Richard gaped and stammered, It is a monster. A monster just appeared." A soldier screamed, "Ah!" His friend, terrified, echoed, "Ah!" The worm rampaged through the crowd as people fled in terror. Karen shouted, "What is that? What in goodness gracious is that monster? The Expo Tower is where Mayor Baek Do-hyun is. Where is Mayor Baek Do-hyun?" Unbeknownst to them, Baek Do-hyun had become the giant worm. People shrieked, "Kya!" As they continued running for their lives. David yelled, "Save him!" Suddenly, an explosion struck the worm's face. Shin Ji-woo appeared, shouting, "Baek Do-hyun!" As he reloaded his rocket launcher with practiced precision, Baek Do-hyun hissed, "Ki-ki-ki!" Shin Ji-woo grabbed a rope and swung away. He fired again at Baek Do-hyun. Baek Do-hyun cackled ki. Shin Ji-woo quickly mounted the motorcycle conveniently parked beside him, sweat trickling down his face. Earlier that day, Ryu Min-sok had said, "It is no use." Shin Ji-woo blinked. "Pardon?" Ryu Min-sok explained. "Its outer shell far exceeds the durability of high-grade steel. On top of that, the more fiercely you attack it, the tougher its structure becomes." Back in the present, Baek Do-hyun rampaged while Shin Ji-woo sped away on his powerful bike. Debris rained down, but Shin Ji-woo dodged and leapt with the bike, skidding across the ground as he fell. Baek Do-hyun loomed over him, laughing, ki. Shin Ji-woo faced him with unwavering resolve. Earlier that same day, Shin Ji-woo had sweated nervously as he asked, "Lure it?" Ryu Min-sik answered, "Its shell is indeed hard, but its internal organs are surprisingly fragile. Ji-woo, lure it toward the expo building. I will take care of it from there." Atop the building, Ryu Min-sok stood silently, gripping a chainsaw. He muttered to himself. From there, he pulled the starter. The chainsaw roared to life. He leapt straight toward Baek Do-hyun, plunging toward the creature's gaping maw. Just as he was about to be swallowed, he fired into the worm's mouth. The chainsaw screamed inside Baek Do-hyun's throat. Moments later, its blade punched outward through the worm's belly. Baek Do-hyun gurgled, "Ki." Blood spattered as the chainsaw carved its way from left to right, then straight downward. Ryu Min-sok emerged from the gaping wound, chainsaw raised high. Baek Do-hyun let out a final broken ki. Ryu Min-sok continued shredding Baek Do-hyun's insides, cutting him cleanly in half. He landed lightly as the two halves of the monstrous worm toppled. Shin Ji-woo stared in stunned silence. The cultists watching from afar trembled with shock. In the distance, Colonel Cha, Dong-ho, and Ryodami stood among others, frozen as the monstrous body was suddenly sliced into neat portions like a fruit-cutting spectacle. Ryodami could only stare. On October 19, 2026, at 12:57 in the morning, Baek Do-hyun, transformed by a tragedy, was finally eliminated. Ryu Min-sok stood firm, chainsaw in hand. He switched it off, murmuring to himself, "Daejeon." He set the chainsaw down and declared softly, "Retaken." A boy shouted, "Mayor Baek!" He looked back and said, "What in the world is going on? What was that monster?" "The tower where Mayor Baek was located has collapsed. Mayor Baek dead?" "Someone explain this." Another shouted, "Mayor Baek, are you there? Please, Mayor Baek, do not abandon us. Mayor Baek." Baek Do-hyun said quietly, "Do you hear them? How desperately they want me, what I am to them." As the people continued, shouting, "Mayor Baek, ooh, Baek Do-hyun." Baek Do-hyun spoke again. "I am asking if you hear them." Ryu Min-sok replied coldly, "So you are still alive, huh? Stubborn to the very end." Baek Do-hyun laughed. "Kukuku, what? Still? I will never die, even if this body rots away, as long as every citizen reveres Baek Do-hyun. I will live and breathe in this city forever." Ryu Min-sok suddenly stepped on his head. He said, "An idiot to the very end. Did you already forget? The one and only person in Daejeon who did not revere you." Baek Do-hyun's pupils slowly disappeared. Shock and confusion overtook him. "Do not tell me." A video began to play. The people watched in horror. A woman screamed, "Kya!" Another said, "What, is that video?" His friend whispered, "No way. That is real? Is that really?" The footage showed Baek Do-hyun putting his hand inside Kim Sang-chung. Another clip showed him eating lavish food. The crowd murmured in disbelief. "Mayor Baek Do-hyun?" Shin Ji-woo stood before the people. A man wiped sweat from his face and said, "That soldier, the one who just took down that monster." Another shouted, "Wait, is that not Shin Ji-woo?" A boy cried out, "What? No way. Why would that be Shin Ji-woo?" He definitely died during the execution last night. His friend said shakily, "So you are saying Shin Ji-woo was still alive? And that Shin Ji-woo saved us from the monster? What in the world is happening right now?" Shin Ji-woo remained silent. He remembered Ryu Min-sok's words. If Baek Do-hyun disappears, Daejeon will fall into chaos, and in that chaos, they will need a new leader to bring it to an end. Let me ask you again. Can you truly say you are different from Baek Do-hyun? Shin Ji-woo whispered to himself, "Rebuild this Daejeon." He then shouted with all his strength. The people listened. They were shocked. Shin Ji-woo closed his eyes. Sweat ran down his face. He remembered Baek Do-hyun rampaging, laughing. Shin Ji-woo opened his eyes. He continued to shout. The people continued to listen. As the sun climbed high, the people came back to their senses. They were shocked once more. Slowly they grasped their thoughts. Then they raised their fists toward Shin Ji-woo. Ryu Min-sok said calmly, Listen carefully, Baek Do-hyun. From now on, Daejeon will be reborn, and no one will even remember you. The power that exploits people's will is nothing compared to the power that protects it. Do you know how much stronger that truly is? Watch it from hell and see it clearly. Baek Do-hyun whispered. Ryu Min-sak stepped down, crushing his head. October 19th, 2026. With Baek Do-hyun's death, Shin Ji-woo walked toward the security guards loyal to him. He struck the chest of a trembling guard. Shocking him, Shin Ji-woo glanced at another, who was sweating profusely. He walked past them as they saluted. Ryu Min-sak said to himself, Daejeon was rebuilt once more. Throughout the city, the remnants he left behind still remain, but with Shin Ji-woo by our side, this city will surely move in the right direction. October 20th, 2026. Colonel Cha Dong-ho's return to the brigade came slightly later than planned. But contrary to his worries, the brigade had held firm against the zombies' attacks. A soldier shouted, Commander, seriously, this is way too much, is it not? His friend cried, Do you know how much we panicked, thinking something had happened to you? Another soldier cried with snot running down his face, We thought you had abandoned us. Colonel Cha Dong-ho laughed. Yeah, I am glad to see all of you too. Mwahahaha. He squeezed a soldier's head with his fist. Another soldier asked, So how was it? Was Daejeon really intact? Someone else asked, Where is Ryu Min-sak? Captain Cha Hyeri stiffened in shock. Colonel Cha Dong-ho said firmly, Tell everyone to gather at the parade ground. As of today, our brigade is entering full, large-scale relocation preparation alert. A short while later, on a rooftop, Ryu Min-sak stood silently, gazing into the distance. He smiled and said to himself, We did it. After all those twists and turns, Dami and I finally settled down here in Daejeon. Ryu Dami waved at him from below. Ryu Min-sak waved back. He lowered his hand as he thought, murmuring to himself. Ryu Min-sak said, But, through this whole incident, I had to face an uncomfortable truth. In this life, no matter how solid the shelter is, as long as zombies exist in this world, I cannot completely protect Dami's future. In the end, there is only one way. Just wait. I will not allow anything that threatens Dami's life to exist. Using the Daejeon shelter as my base, I will wipe out every last zombie still left across Korea and kill them all. Daejeon Expedition. End. Daejeon, Daedok District, Atechong Dam, Control Office. A man shouted, Manager, the water level is 170 meters. It is within the safe zone, the manager replied urgently. But we still need to keep releasing water. The inflow is too fast. The man said, If we push the dam too hard, it could affect the power supply. The manager snapped, We will deal with that later. For now, lower the level first. Let us get inside the building. Tell Min-han to come in too. The man turned and shouted, Hey, Park Min-han, what are you doing out there? Hey, it is dangerous. Park Min-han cried weakly. The man stopped. He stared at the water. Rain continued to pour down. Then, a huge eye emerged from the water. In another location, a soldier said into the radio, Someone respond. This is Jeryong, Alpha, respond. 1 hour has passed since communication with Daejeon was cut off. It is not certain, but... An officer muttered, So in the end, does this mean that all the cities of the Republic of Korea have been completely overrun by zombies? They stared at the monitor, which displayed multiple danger zones. A soldier suddenly shouted, Commander, we have a serious problem. The commander snapped, What? The officer reported, Massive zombie hordes detected within a 10-kilometer radius. They are converging toward Jeryong. They are moving straight toward us. Another soldier shouted, Commander, what are your orders? See, Commander. The commander loosened his uniform collar. He removed his identification tag. He said grimly, All personnel in the operations room immediately moved to the underground facility. The officer froze. Commander, you cannot mean. That method is absolutely forbidden. Using that means the entire world could be destroyed. The commander roared, Korea is already effectively destroyed. This is the only way to create even a single chance for a counterattack. The officer pleaded. But Commander, another voice shouted over the radio, This is Jeryong, respond. The commander shouted, Enough. There will not be any reply from them anyway. Suddenly, an officer exclaimed, Commander, we have received a response. The commander stiffened. What? Is that true? The officer replied quickly, Yes, it is not from the Daejeon region, but the transmission was cut off almost immediately. However, it is confirmed to be the signal of a deployed unit. The commander took a deep breath. All right, let us believe one more time. This is a cutting-edge bunker. It does not allow even a single drop of water inside. The zombies will not be able to infiltrate this place, he shouted with renewed resolve. If we can reclaim even one city, Korea can definitely fight back. Suddenly, he froze. His gaze dropped to the necklace around his neck. A single drop of water fell onto it. Huh? Confused, he slowly looked up. Above him loomed a massive shape. Water dripped endlessly from it. Then, it opened its eye. 1 week after the reconstruction of Daejeon, Colonel Cha Dong-ho spoke over the radio. How was the progress? He was seated in the colonel's office, 2nd Mechanized Infantry Brigade. Colonel Cha Dong-ho continued. Do not rush me, Ryu Min-sok. Things are taking longer than expected, moving more than 2,000 people. No matter how careful we are, the preparations are still insufficient, Ryu Min-sok replied calmly. Yes, we will cooperate closely as well. Colonel Cha Dong-ho chuckled. That sounded a bit cold of you. Hey now, you have barely been in Daejeon, and your way of speaking has already become stiff? Ryu Min-sok asked. Did you manage to persuade your subordinates? Colonel Cha Dong-ho replied. Persuade? Persuade them for what? When I say we move, my people say okay immediately. Haha. Except for one person? You know who it is. Why ask? It is Hyeri. Captain Cha Hyeri was sweating as she performed vertical push-ups, her movements precise despite the strain. 45, 46. As she exercised, Ryu Min-sok's words echoed in her mind. The only thing that matters to me is Dami. Whatever happens to the brigade, it has nothing to do with me. Captain Cha Hyeri continued counting. 47, 40. Her thoughts suddenly shifted. She remembered a child handing her flowers. Her arms trembled. She slipped and fell to the floor. She sat up sharply and exhaled. Who? Sweat ran down her body. She bit her lip and muttered, Darn it. Colonel Cha Dong-ho said calmly. That girl says she absolutely cannot trust you. It looks like she has truly come to hate you. Classic INFJ, Ryu Min-sok replied evenly. Yes, I understand. Colonel Cha Dong-ho continued. Still, it is not outright opposition, so you do not need to worry. I did not raise my subordinates to be so foolish that they would fail to understand what this means. Ryu Min-sok thought to himself, yes, the colonel is right. 1 week ago, we succeeded in reclaiming Daejeon, but our forces are far too weak to stop the threats that could strike at any moment. And Colonel Cha Pungo's brigade is, without question, the strongest unit in the Republic of Korea. If such a powerful force were to combine with Daejeon's infrastructure and continue to grow, Daejeon would become the very first cornerstone of Korea's reconstruction. An officer spoke up. In any case, Colonel, please prepare thoroughly. Colonel Cha Dong-ho blinked in confusion. Ryu Min-sok said firmly. Until you arrive, I will complete all the necessary preparations. Joint Chiefs of Staff Headquarters, directly under the Ministry of National Defense. The heart of the armed forces, Jaeryong Headquarters. Shin Ji-woo had asked earlier. Jaeryong Headquarters? Are you saying we are heading to the Joint Chiefs of Staff Headquarters right now? Ryu Min-sok had replied, yes. And he thought to himself, in my previous life, when I arrived in Daejeon, the city's military power was not particularly impressive. The creatures that appeared back then were only eater class. They could be adequately repelled by Shin Ji-woo's command alone. Several years later, in the reclaimed Dunsan government complex, a document was discovered, top-level classified document, Top Control, codename Heart, south of Daejeon, Jaeryong Headquarters, Joint Chiefs of Staff Headquarters, underground. It detailed the existence of high-performance military assets whose very existence had been concealed from the outside world. Once those assets were secured, Daejeon was strengthened, and even the high-ranking creatures that appeared afterward could be suppressed. But now, we do not have years to wait, nor do we have any reason to wait. Before another variable emerges, we must secure the power to protect Daejeon. Ryu Min-sok glanced to the side. Rain continued to pour. A group of soldiers stopped. They looked at him. They were Blue Hawk Unit, 2nd Lieutenant Eom Jong-yeon, and Blue Hawk Unit, 1st Lieutenant Han Tani. Shin Ji-woo had said earlier, among the people I trust. Take 2 out of 10 with you. They are soldiers who resisted. Instead of following Baek Do-yoon, they were imprisoned beneath the exhibition hall. Even Baek Do-yoon himself found them valuable enough to keep alive, rather than execute. They are loyal soldiers, men who would give their lives for an order. Ryu Min-sak thought, they will surely be of help. He spoke aloud. If it is as I remember, the path to Jiryong's underground will not be easy. Are you ready? Eom Jung-yeon and Han Tani nodded without hesitation. Ryu Min-sak said, then let us go. Lightning struck a nearby building. Ryu Min-sak stepped forward and said quietly, to claim the heart of the armed forces. In another place, the storm continued to rage. A phone rang. A zombie paused. It slowly looked upward. Outside, the dam was being battered by surging water. Cracks spread across its surface. Water burst violently through them. At Jiryong headquarters, classified zone, underground. As the zombies shuffled through the darkness, they suddenly noticed someone moving. In an instant, all of them turned and charged forward. Keek, Gruik, claymores were embedded across the floor. The moment the zombies stepped forward, boom, Kia! The explosion tore through their bodies as special forces units emerged from cover, rifles blazing. Heads burst one after another. Another zombie stumbled forward, triggering a second claymore. Gruik, Gwick, its head exploded mid-scream. Within seconds, the special forces wiped out the remaining zombies. First Lieutenant Han Tani wiped the sweat from her brow. Second Lieutenant Eom Jung-yeon exhaled deeply. I never imagined a place like this existed beneath Jiryong. Still, for the first time in a while, our coordination felt pretty solid. First Lieutenant Han Tani nodded. Yeah, you did well. Sweat trickled down her temple as she continued, though a heavy thud interrupted her. Ryu Min-sak casually dropped a severed zombie head to the floor. Han Tani glanced at him and muttered, you are still nowhere near that man's level. Inside her thoughts, a name echoed, Vice Mayor Ryu Min-sak. The man who, together with Mayor Shin Ji-woo, brought Baek Do-hyun to his end. The man who restored Daejeon to its normal state. Seeing him in person, he was overwhelmingly powerful. Ryu Min-sak turned back and smiled at them. Han Tani blinked, confused. Second Lieutenant Eom Jung-yeon spoke up. Honestly, there is no need for us to accompany you, Vice Mayor. I am certain you could handle this alone. Ryu Min-sak shook his head. Not at all. You have been more than helpful. He turned toward a massive steel door. And from here on, I cannot do this alone. His gaze hardened. K-57, a sector that must be passed to reach the military weapons facility. The moment the door opened, two eaters launched an ambush. But what left the deepest impression was not the battle. It was something else. The northern rear section of the zone. A small auxiliary room hidden within. Inside, they discovered 11 bodies. Their time of death was not long past. Uninfected, human corpses. They had endured more than a year in pitch black darkness. Ryu Min-sak pressed his hand against the terminal. Access approved, yet they failed to escape in the end. This time, will we be able to save them? Second Lieutenant Eom Jung-yeon frowned. This is definitely a classified zone, is it not? It is strange that you know the location and the passcode. Ryu Min-sak replied calmly. It is a long story. Let us just say I saw an important document. Once it opens, the eaters will ambush us. He adjusted his grip on his axe. The underground is only just the beginning. The door creaked open. In the distance, a soldier stood motionless. Behind him, more soldiers. First Lieutenant Han Tani's eyes widened. That is not an eater. Second Lieutenant Eom Jung-yeon shouted, Survivor confirmed. There are living survivors. There are no eaters. We went straight to survivors this time. Looks like your prediction was wrong, Vice Mayor. Ryu Min-sak froze. Eom Jung-yeon followed his gaze. The soldiers stared back, unblinking. Then, parasites burst from their bodies. From the darkness above, something massive descended. A grotesque shape revealed its true form. Rear contact, Eom Jung-yeon shouted. Eater class confirmed. But that eater, something is different about it. Parasites crawled rapidly across the floor. One leaped. It landed on Eom Jung-yeon's arm. What is that? Pain surged through his body. Lieutenant Eom? Han Tani shouted. What is wrong? The parasite burst from his eyes. His body split apart violently. Eom? Lieutenant Eom? Ryu Min-sak grabbed Han Tani's wrist. He lifted her effortlessly and sprinted away. Inside his mind, a word surfaced. Parasiter. An omnivorous parasitic creature that devours a living host and takes over its body. Its reproduction rate is beyond imagination. Gah! It does not discriminate between humans and creatures. The survivors in this zone were all devoured by the parasiter. How did it end up inside this area? Focus, Ryu Min-sak. First priority, avoid that creature. Under no circumstances can it be allowed to escape the underground. If it reaches a nearby city, Daejeon will be in danger. Daejeon. Rain poured endlessly. At the shooting range, the downpour continued. Shooting practice. Mayor Shin Jiwoo held up a target sheet. Your shot grouping has improved compared to this morning, but your horizontal deviation during firing is excessive. We will reevaluate after enhancement training. Understood? He looked toward her. Miss Dami? Yeah. A few days earlier, Ryu Dami stood before Mayor Shin Jiwoo. I know, in a world like this, a regular high school girl like me cannot survive. The only reason I am still alive is because of my dad. Even if I cannot help him, I do not want to be a burden. Please, Captain Mu, so that I can at least protect myself. Please train me, Mayor Shin Jiwoo reflected silently. It had been 5 days since her training began. The intensity would have broken an ordinary high school girl. Yet she endured. Her willpower was exceptional, as expected. Blood does not lie. A soldier sprinted toward them. Mayor, this is an emergency. Zombies. Shin Jiwoo asked sharply. What is the scale? It is not zombies. Daejeon Dam has been destroyed. Mayor Shin Jiwoo froze. What? Daejeon Dam? The soldiers shouted. This afternoon, communication with the dam was cut. A response team confirmed that all staff were deceased, and there were massive structural breaches. Mayor Shin Jiwoo asked sharply, what about the damage assessment? That is the strange part, the soldier replied. Based on predicted flow paths, the Nonsan region should have flooded first, but the water flow is changing direction, as if it has a will of its own. The current flow route is Jeryong Stream. Its direction is Jeryong Headquarters. Thunder roared as the storm intensified. A few days earlier, Ryu Minsak smiled faintly as he spoke to Mayor Shin Jiwoo. Can you kill me? Shin Jiwoo froze. What? What are you saying right now? Ryu Minsak closed his eyes. Ever since I was reborn in this bizarre body, I have lived with a single question for a very long time. Can I truly die? That question followed me endlessly. But after the fight with Baek Do-yeon, I finally realized something. The simplest, yet most certain, way to kill me. The present. As of this moment, Mayor Shin Jiwoo shouted, I am declaring an emergency alert. I will immediately go and rescue all personnel deployed to Jeryong Base. Have every department switch to full emergency readiness at once. He mounted his large motorcycle and sped off into the storm. Mayor, a soldier cried out. It is dangerous if you go alone. We should form a dedicated team and then deploy. There is neither time nor manpower for that. Shin Jiwoo snapped. Report the water flow's movement and damage status in real time, including any anomalies. The soldier saluted. Yes, sir. Rain battered Shin Jiwoo's face as he drove, never blinking. In his mind, Minsak's words echoed, killing, repeated again and again, at intervals too short for recovery. Among them, the simplest, yet surest, method, in an enclosed space, over a long period. Asphyxiation. If that happens, at last, Minsak's faint smile surfaced in his memory. Will die. Back underground, the eater hurled swarms of parasites toward Ryu Minsak. He continued running while carrying First Lieutenant Han Tani. She fired continuously. One parasite after another exploded mid-air. Impressive, Lieutenant Han. Minsak said calmly. Your accuracy is solid, even from this stance. You can praise me later, Han Tani snapped. What are you going to do now? Minsak calculated rapidly. Parasiter characteristics. Its biting force easily penetrates living tissue, but it cannot break through hard outer walls. Jeryong Base, southeastern sector, end of the corridor in Zone G1. If my memory is right, there it is, G1. The terminal lit up, initiating G1 bunker access protocol. Please fix your gaze on the identification light for left eye iris recognition. 6-1, activate emergency protocol, Minsak shouted. Golf 1-171 Bravo. The system processed the data, emergency protocol, code verified, open. The door slid apart. Minsak hurled Han Tani inside, close. The eater lunged forward, crunch. Its arm was severed as the door slammed shut. Han Tani rolled, stood, and fired at the remaining parasites. Ha, ha. Vice Mayor, where exactly are we? And why, just why, did you not come inside? Outside the bunker, Ryu Minsak planted his feet. Parasites erupted from the bodies of fallen soldiers and swarmed him. They bit into his flesh, burrowed beneath his skin, Grah! He clenched his teeth, staring down as movement writhed beneath his flesh. Above ground, Mayor Shin Jiwoo abandoned his motorcycle and sprinted up the stairs, leaping floor by floor. "What are you doing right now?" he shouted to himself. Minsok's voice echoed in his memory. "A way to kill you, and you are asking me to be the one to kill you. Why are you telling me this? Hero Shin Jiwoo, you may not have known me well, but I know you very well, more than anyone. You are righteous and deeply responsible. You are someone who can make difficult choices for the greater good. After the battle with Baek Do-hyun, the way I look at myself has changed. Mayor, do you see it too? That one day I might lose my sanity, become completely uncontrollable, and turn into a creature. Please, Mayor, if that happens, I want you to kill me. I want to remain dad to Dami until the very end. I do not want to be remembered as a monster by Dami." Underground, Minsok clutched his chest as parasites consumed him. "Ah!" The eaters roared in excitement. Grar! A spike suddenly erupted and impaled the creatures mid-air. Minsok remained standing, but do not worry. I still cannot become a monster. Until Dami's world is restored, I may die, but I cannot die. A parasite dropped lifelessly from his hand. He straightened. Ryu Minsok, parasite mode, activated. Ryu Minsok looked at the eater walking towards him. Suddenly it charged at Ryu Minsok and shrieked, "Kriya!" Ryu Minsok grabbed its mouth and clamped it shut. The creature cried out in pain, "Kra!" As Ryu Minsok raised the eater, it groaned, "Krook," and exploded in his grip. Suddenly another eater charged at Ryu Minsok, screaming, "Kriya!" Ryu Minsok raged in anger and started attacking the incoming zombies. As they were hit one by one, they suddenly merged together and became a huge zombie roaring crawl. Multiple eyes stared at Ryu Minsok. Ryu Minsok fell silent. He opened his eyes and looked at the eater, then charged at it. First Lieutenant Han Tani was shocked and confused as she sweated and looked ahead. She saw Ryu Minsok. Ryu Minsok said, "Sorry to keep you waiting, Lieutenant Han," as he smiled and showed off his muscular body. "Are you all right?" G Bunker, a Joint Chiefs Command and Control Room. Built for a scenario where the Republic of Korea is overrun. I figured they wouldn't be able to breach this place, but thank God, looks like I was right. First Lieutenant Han Tani said, "Please explain your face, Deputy Mayor. It looks just like theirs." "Deputy Mayor, don't tell me you've been infected?" As she pointed her gun at Ryu Minsok. "Yes, but I don't think you need to worry. My body seems to have suppressed it. That can't be possible." "You already know that if it were me it'd be possible." First Lieutenant Han Tani froze in shock. She sweated and nodded. Ryu Minsok looked away and said to himself, "This is different from the deaths I've experienced in past lives. This feeling is more like being dragged back from the edge of death. It's like, exactly like that time. The situation was completely different, but the emotion filling me was unmistakably the same as back then. The will to keep Dami by my side. Maybe Dami isn't someone I have to save. Maybe she's the one who keeps me alive." Anyway, looks like even this airtight bunker had a variable. In my past life, what I found inside this bunker was the bodies of soldiers who had taken their own lives. Where did they go? What happened inside this bunker? Ryu Minsok looked down and saw a key card. He sweated and said, "That is authorization key, Jeryongdae, class -1 military restricted area, underground, and beneath that at the end of a narrow corridor, the red door." The documents we found had another name written for that door, Pluto's Gate. That place was a top-tier restricted zone, even among classified areas. Only one person in this facility was authorized to access it, Jeryongdae Joint Chiefs Infection Response Commander, Major General Kwak Sung-sho. However, he couldn't stop the catastrophe, and he couldn't bear the crushing guilt of that failure. So in the end, he destroyed the only authorization key to the red door and ran from it all into death. But now, that key is lying on the floor perfectly intact, like someone left it here on purpose. Why? Ryu Minsok took the key card. Behind him, liquid seeped into the concrete. Outside, the helicopter arrived as the storm raged. Shin Jiwoo said, "This is Alpha. Bravo, respond." Since Daecheong Dam's collapse, a massive surge has been pouring into Jeryong Stream. Flooding is in progress across the Jeryongdae operation zone. Bravo, evacuate immediately. This is Alpha. If anyone's receiving, answer me. Ryu Minsok. As Ryu Minsok looks above, First Lieutenant Han Tani says, "What is it?" Ryu Minsok says, "No, I felt like someone was watching me. Must be my imagination." First Lieutenant Han Tani looks down and says, "Wait, look at this." As Ryu Minsok was confused, First Lieutenant Han Tani says, "Under the desk, it's like someone carved these with a knife. A long string of numbers, 373,045, 1,270,610. Ryu Minsok says, A 13-digit number, scratched in a hurry. This is a new variable even for me. It's the first I've seen of it too. And what do you think this means? Looks like we've seen everything there is to see in this bunker. Let's move. First Lieutenant Hantani says, back into the storage sector, or return to Daejeon and regroup. Ryu Minsak says, neither. First Lieutenant Hantani says, sorry. Ryu Minsak says, we're going deeper than this underground to the lower level. First Lieutenant Hantani says, there's definitely something there. Ryu Minsak says, yes, it is definitely there. Ryu Minsak says to himself, down there, there'll be technology that can strengthen Daejeon and a key that can raise Korea back up. Ryu Minsak says, but it could be even more dangerous. We might go through something more terrifying than before. What do you say, Lieutenant Han? Will you come with me? First Lieutenant Hantani says, I'm a soldier who exists to protect Daejeon. Loyalty is all I have, and since I chose to be loyal to you, I'll follow you. As Ryu Minsak smiles, he says, good, then let's go, to the red door. Behind First Lieutenant Hantani, the wall cracks as a huge eye appears and opens as the storm continues outside. Second Lieutenant Park Dewan, Exhibit Hall Detainee Survivors, 9, holds the radio. A soldier says, Lieutenant Park, just like you said, we carried it out. Second Lieutenant Park Ji-won says, good, keep reporting anything unusual. And he says to himself, please be safe, sir. As he remembers what he said before, there's a high chance the floodwaters could spill into Daejeon at any moment. You need to be in Daejeon, sir. Shin Ji-woo says, what's our power situation? Second Lieutenant Park Ji-won says, as you know, the shelter's power depended on Daecheong Dam. Even if we run emergency generators, we've got at most 1 hour. After that, a total blackout is expected. As Shin Ji-woo silently looks down, he then says, Lieutenant Park. Second Lieutenant Park Ji-won shouts, yes. Shin Ji-woo says, evacuate all civilians to the rooftop and higher ground and restrict power to essential facilities only to full conservation measures. Contact Sergeant Kim Moon-sik separately and have him check what caused the Daecheong Dam explosion and whether repairs are possible, and tell him to review every option we have. Move it now, Sergeant Kim Moon-sik shouts. Exhibit Hall Detainee Survivors, 9. Second Lieutenant Park Ji-won says, sir. Shin Ji-woo says, I understand how serious this is. As Park Ji-won was shocked, Shin Ji-woo says, but as long as there's still a chance, I can't abandon my men. And that man, Ryu Minsak, he's someone Daejeon absolutely needs to survive. Exactly 30 minutes. If we can't find them within that time, I'll return without delay. Ryu Minsak. At the red door, it was opened. Ryu Minsak says to himself, an old corridor, a single rusted red iron door. As Ryu Minsak inserts the key card, it was Pluton Room, Red Moon Complex. Construction 1958, U.S. Joint Involvement. Completion 1991, Classified Program, Top Secret, Chorus Black Protocol. Unauthorized entry is prohibited. Ryu Minsak says to himself, a place no one spoke of for 33 years. As First Lieutenant Hantani stopped, Ryu Minsak says to himself, and no one was ever granted access to for 68 years. First Lieutenant Hantani sweats in fear. Ryu Minsak says to himself, those few who knew the secret called it Pluto's Gate. But only the tiny handful who knew what the secret truly was called this space by another name, Ghost Stock. As they looked at multiple nuclear missiles as it was all over the place, First Lieutenant Hantani says, that mark on the wall and this massive number of missiles, is it what I think it is, sir? Ryu Minsak says to himself, right beside the red door there's an English inscription. Construction began in 1958, completed in 1991, and United States. It reminded me of an article I once saw in an old newspaper. In 1958, under U.S. approval, tactical nuclear weapons were deployed in Korea. As the paper's headline is, we had nukes in 1958, Ryu Minsak says to himself. In 1991, with the declaration of denuclearization, all nukes were said to have been withdrawn, and according to official records, the number of nuclear warheads stationed in South Korea was up to 950. No way. Are you telling me those warheads were still sitting under Jaryongdae this whole time? How was that even possible? Ryu Minsak says to himself, one thing is certain, as he clenches his fist and says to himself, it's here, the power that can end this zombie outbreak in an instant. First Lieutenant Hantani suddenly says, sir. As Ryu Minsak was shocked and stopped thinking, First Lieutenant Hantani says, what's wrong? Ryu Minsak says, no, I was just thinking for a moment. Ryu Minsak says to himself, what was that just now? It felt like I wasn't even myself. Get a grip, Ryu Minsak. This power doesn't only kill zombies, not just Korea, it could bring about the end of the world. Ryu Minsak looks at another door and says to himself, Another red door beneath the railing. What's down there? First Lieutenant Han Tani says, "What do we do now? Shouldn't we go up and report this to HQ?" Ryu Min-sok says, "Yes, but for what comes next, let's go down below the railing, even if just briefly, and check the facility's condition." Suddenly a voice says, "Nice to meet you, welcome, welcome." As Major General Kwak Sung-chul walks towards them and says, "So nice to meet you," Ryu Min-sok says, "Chief Kwak Sung-chul?" First Lieutenant Han Tani says, "Isn't that the missing infection response commander that you mentioned? Why is he here?" As Ryu Min-sok raises his hand to block First Lieutenant Han Tani, he says, "You, who are you?" As Major General Kwak Sung-chul stopped, he then smiles and says, I'm busted." As an eye comes out of his head, his body starts to mutate and his clothes rip open. Major General Kwak Sung-chul says, "Busted, a shame, such a shame. Who the hell are you? Sharp, aren't you? When you don't even know anything, nothing, you know nothing." As it charges at Ryu Min-sok was shocked and confused as he sweats and says to himself, "Fast, this is the second one since Baek Do-yeon, a creature I never even saw in my previous life, fighting an entity whose traits aren't even identified, and doing it in a different space, is way too dangerous." As he grabs First Lieutenant Han Tani's wrist and shouts, "Jump down!" First Lieutenant Han Tani says, "Yes," and he throws First Lieutenant Han Tani down. As he raises his hand and tentacles come out, he grabs Major General Kwak Sung-chul, making him stop. A few moments later, Ryu Min-sok stops and says to himself, "What?" Major General Kwak Sung-chul looks down on him as Ryu Min-sok flies away and slides and says, "Kuh." Ryu Min-sok says to himself, "Damn it, this is bad. Its outer shell is abnormally tough. My tentacles aren't working at all. If this fight drags on, it could spiral into a total loss of control. I have to find a way somehow." Major General Kwak Sung-chul says, "Min-sok." Ryu Min-sok says, "What?" Major General Kwak Sung-chul says, "Ryu Min-sok, you idiot. Curious? Not knowing anything at all? Want to hear it? Should I trust you? Tell you everything?" Major General Kwak Sung-chul said, "Ryu Min-sok, you fool. Even though you know nothing, shall I tell you? Shall I tell you?" Ryu Min-sok said to himself, "A creature that maintains reason, something I've never encountered before. Moreover, this creature knows me. What exactly is this thing's identity?" Ryu Min-sok said, Have you been following us all this time?" Major General Kwak Sung-chul said, "Me? You, ha-hayangal hak, pukaka, confinement." He says, "I followed him. Kya ha-ham, I followed him. You going to the bunker, you coming here," as he watched under the table and focuses at Ryu Min-sok. As he said, "It's all my work and you know nothing, fool. They say Ryu Min-sok is a fool. Yarmlam, kya hat." Suddenly Ryu Min-sok holds the hands of Major General Kwak Sung-chul. As Major General Kwak Sung-chul said, "So annoying. That look in your eyes is so annoying. Do you know what you are? You're nothing. You're just Baek Do-yeon." As Ryu Min-sok was shocked, suddenly he was slapped away. As Ryu Min-sok slides back, he said in confusion, "Baek Do-yeon." Major General Kwak Sung-chul said, "Ki-hee-hit. God's proxy Baek Do-yeon, fool, you're just a toy." Right, a toy, her toy. Ryu Min-sok is also a toy, but Ryu Min-sok is defective. Right. Broken trash. AAA. Ah. But she likes Ryu Min-sok. Ryu Min-sok is defective. No, she hates him terribly. A zombie like you. A defective like you, Ryu Min-sok said to himself. "I can't understand everything this thing is saying. However, one thing has become clear. The question I've held for so long has now solidified into certainty. Baek Do-yeon, me, the zombie outbreak, the mastermind, she," Ryu Min-sok said. "Is that it? Unlike Baek Do-yeon, to dispose of a defective product that won't obey, you lured me to this dangerous space? Tell me, where is she?" As Major General Kwak Sung-chul stopped, he blows saying, "Cup," as he laughed and said, "You fool. Real fool. To kill trash like you? Go that far?" Ryu Min-sok said, "Then what? The reason you brought me here is..." Major General Kwak Sung-chul said, "Shall I give it?" As Ryu Min-sok was confused, Major General Kwak Sung-chul said, "Here, should I give it to you?" As Ryu Min-sok listened silently, he said, "What?" Major General Kwak Sung-chul said, "I saw it. When you first saw this place, your expression. Thump, 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 thump. Thump, thump." As he looks closely at Ryu Min-sok, Major General Kwak Sung-chul said, "You were excited, right? You want to use it, right? You want to kill them all, right? What you could become, what you'll do to humanity, you don't know anything." First Lieutenant Han Tani said, "Vice Mayor." As she carries a box of explosives, Ryu Min-sok sweats and looks back. First Lieutenant Han Tani grits her teeth as she throws the hand grenades in the box towards Ryu Min-sok, and she sweats. As she remembers what Ryu Min-sok said when he tossed her away, saying, "Red Gate, ESR." As First Lieutenant Han Tani drops to the ground with Ryu Min-sok's parasite breaking her fall, First Lieutenant Han Tani looks at the red gate as it said, ESR Explosive Storage Room. In the present, multiple grenades flew towards Ryu Min-sok. As her tentacles grab each grenade, the other tentacles punch the faces of Major General Kwok Sung-chol, and he lets Major General Kwok Sung-chol swallow all of the grenades. As he shouted, "Grah!" and he covers the mouths of Major General Kwok Sung-chol as Major General Kwok Sung-chol sweats in shock. Suddenly, Ryu Min-sok's tentacles wrap around Major General Kwok Sung-chol. As he made a huge ball out of him, suddenly he exploded as Ryu Min-sok flew back, and his parasites hit the missiles. Some flew up and all over the place. As Ryu Min-sok kneels on the ground, he said in exhaustion, "Ha! Ha!" Major General Kwok Sung-chol said, "Min-sok doesn't know anything." Ryu Min-sok said to himself, "Don't waver, Ryu Min-sok. That way of speaking as if seeing through everything, it's just a common trick to confuse me. But why? Why is my heart pounding so hard at such nonsense?" First Lieutenant Han Tani slaps the face of Ryu Min-sok and said, "Vice Mayor," as Ryu Min-sok said in pain, "Kyuk." As Major General Kwok Sung-chol looks at them, First Lieutenant Han Tani said, "I'm sorry, Vice Mayor. No matter how many times I called, you didn't answer." Ryu Min-sok said, "Please, I need to ask a favor." First Lieutenant Han Tani said, "Huh?" As the skins of Major General Kwok Sung-chol fall from above, First Lieutenant Han Tani said, "Vice Mayor, it's an earthquake. We need to get out of here immediately." Major General Kwok Sung-chol said, "Don't go." As Ryu Min-sok stopped, he looks above. Major General Kwok Sung-chol said, "I don't go. Don't go, Min-sok. Play with me more. Have more to give you. A gift." Outside, the waters hit the dam. As Major General Kwok Sung-chol continues to say, "Don't go, Min-sok, don't go. Stay with me. Let's play more." Ryu Min-sok said to himself, "The intensity and inflow direction of the water current. This isn't just water leaking from a crack. The entire surface is submerged under pressure. It's all rushing in at once. There's no way to avoid this current." Ryu Min-sok said, "Lieutenant Han, hold your breath." As Ryu Min-sok and First Lieutenant Han Tani took a deep breath, they both said, "Huop." As the raging water enters inside, First Lieutenant Han Tani was dragged away by the water. As she raised her hand, Ryu Min-sok suddenly grabs her wrist. As he swims like a torpedo pulling First Lieutenant Han Tani, Ryu Min-sok said to himself, "This is the classified area underground, deeper than the lower levels. A moment's hesitation and we'll be trapped. We have to escape instantly, just a little more." As the water rushed inside from left to right, Ryu Min-sok said to himself, "Just a little." The water swirls inside the corridor. As he swims out and pulls First Lieutenant Han Tani, Ryu Min-sok said to himself, "As expected, the surface is completely submerged. What on earth happened?" "Think later, Ryu Min-sok. We need to get to the surface, quickly." Suddenly, Major General Kwok Sung-chol said, "Don't." As Ryu Min-sok was grabbed on the foot, Major General Kwok Sung-chol said, "Don't struggle. It's useless, Min-sok." Ryu Min-sok said to himself, "Damn it, it's already reached here, so it really was still alive." As he grits his teeth and tries to shout in the water, Shin Ji-woo hovers above the water in the storm. As Ryu Min-sok throws First Lieutenant Han Tani above the water, Shin Ji-woo sweats in shock as he saw First Lieutenant Han Tani flying. As Ryu Min-sok's arm was cut and holds First Lieutenant Han Tani, Shin Ji-woo shouted, "Lieutenant Han!" As she lands on the helicopter, Shin Ji-woo said, "How did you get up from that water? Where's Lieutenant Kang? What about the Vice Mayor?" As First Lieutenant Han Tani said, "Ha, ha," and she looks at the arm and key card of Ryu Min-sok. First Lieutenant Han Tani said, the Vice Mayor, he's still underwater." As he was being dragged down by Major General Kwok Sung-chol, it said, "Stop it, Min-sok." As Ryu Min-sok's arm rapidly loses muscle, Major General Kwok Sung-chol said, "Even after 100 lifetimes, don't you get it? No matter what you do in Daejeon, no matter how hard you struggle, humanity is destined to die anyway. It's the will of the Almighty Her, the absolute future already decided. Obey, become the perfect zombie for her. Only then you'll live. Only then, Dami will live." A few moments later, Shin Ji-woo continues to hover above the water. Suddenly the water blasted as the helicopter evades the water. First Lieutenant Han Tani covers her face in shock as she tries to shout some gibberish, and he waited silently. As Ryu Min-sok's arm suddenly grows back on Ryu Min-sok's body, Shin Ji-woo looks back. Ryu Min-sok transforms back to a human, as Shin Ji-woo smiles and sweats, saying, "I'm sorry, Vice Mayor." First Lieutenant Han Tani, disgusted, said, "No matter how I look at it, that appearance." Ryu Min-sok holds the ground, and First Lieutenant Han Tani said, "I'll never be able to get used to it." Ryu Min-sok shows off his muscular body, and he smiled. Jiryong Base Rescue Operation. Casualties, 1 dead, Ryu Min-sok and 1 other rescued. November 2nd, 2026, 10:25 a.m. The floodwaters that had engulfed all of Jiryong Base receded as if it had all been a lie. Daejeon suffered a total blackout lasting around 3 days. November 5th, 2026, the dam resumed normal operation. November 10th, 2026, we returned once again to the underground of Jiryong Base. As Shin Ji-woo looks at Ryu Min-sok looks back at Shin Ji-woo. and he looks at First Lieutenant Han Tani. As she nods and sweats, she remembers what Ryu Minsak said, the approval key for the red door. Lieutenant Han, please keep it. First Lieutenant Han Tani, confused, said, Me? Ryu Minsak said, the weapons of Jiryong Base are meant to strengthen Daejeon, not become tools of destruction. Therefore, it would be safer for you to keep it rather than me. The existence of the Red Gate will remain a secret between us for now, until the day finally comes when that door must truly be opened. As Ryu Minsak looks at the city, Ryu Dami said, Hasn't my dad changed a bit? First Lieutenant Han Tani said, Dami, you felt that too? Yes, ever since the flooding at Jiryong Base, something's changed. As if his entire state of mind had shifted. Ryu Minsak said, No. First Lieutenant Han Tani sweats and confused, saying, Huh? Ryu Dami said, It's not just a change of heart, it's more like, as she looks at Ryu Minsak, she said, How should I put it? He's become scarier than before. As Ryu Minsak's aura rages, Ryu Minsak said, Hey brat. Major General Kwak Sungchol said, How did you read my telepathy? Ryu Minsak said, You dare mention Dami with that filthy tongue, and what was that? Save Dami? You mean turning my daughter into a zombie? You mean turning my daughter into a zombie? You said earlier I don't know what I could become. Now I'll tell you, I'll find her. And when I do, I'll make her, the one who created this defective trash, suffer enough pain. As Ryu Minsak pulls the pin of the grenade, he said, to curse her own creation, as I rip her apart and devour her. As Major General Kwak Sung-sho looks at Ryu Minsak, suddenly they exploded. In the present, Ryu Minsak was silent as he opens his eyes in rage. Shin Ji-woo arrived and said, We found it. The numerical sequence Lieutenant Han discovered in the bunker. When converted into latitude and longitude, it produced exact coordinates. Numbers carved desperately into the control room floor with a knife could only mean one thing. 37 degree 3645. 127 degree 0610. Coordinate. Ryu Minsak said, Where is this location? Shin Ji-woo said, Republic of Korea. As Ryu Dami and First Lieutenant Han Tani were shocked, Ryu Minsak became serious. Shin Ji-woo said, Olympic Row Songpagu, the place indicated by these numbers is Seoul. Thanks for tuning in. I truly appreciate each and every one of you who took the time to watch this video. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more content like this. If you enjoyed what you saw, consider sharing my videos or channel with your friends who might also enjoy it. Your support means the world to me and helps my channel grow. Let's keep this community thriving together. Until next time, see you in the next video.